That night atop Mount Sinai, amid thunder and the blazing fire of divine presence, an angel appeared in radiant light and revealed to Moses a story never recorded in the Bible. It was not the Ten Commandments, but the true secret of creation from a time before the universe had its first dawn, when angels still walked among men. The angel said, "Before the sun and the moon were set in place, I was commanded to record every moment shaped by the hand of God. Every age, every soul has its appointed place in the book of time." The angel also unveiled shocking truths about how God formed the world, foretold to Moses the sins that mankind would commit, and revealed the divine covenants already written between God and the people of Israel. These revelations were later written down in the book of Jubilees, a sacred record that in time was declared forbidden, for it unveiled too much about the heavens, about creation itself, and about how God ordained the course of human history. Through the centuries, this book was cast out of the Bible, branded as forbidden, and survived only in ancient manuscripts preserved in Ethiopia. But tonight, as the world falls silent, we will reopen the banned book of Jubilees to listen once more to the voice of the angel, the one who revealed the hidden secrets of creation and time. The origin of the book of Jubilees. At that time, the world was still shrouded in chaos. The people of Israel had been enslaved in Egypt for more than 400 years. They built cities, molded bricks, endured the lash of whips, and cried out to God day after day in their despair. Then a chosen man appeared, Moses. He had grown up in Pharaoh's palace, yet within his heart burned a divine calling from the Creator himself. When the appointed time came, God appeared to him in a bush that burned but was not consumed, and said, "Go now, lead my people out of Egypt." And so miracles struck that proud land. The Nile turned to blood, scorpions and locusts darkened the skies, and shadows spread across the kingdom. Only when God took the lives of Egypt's firstborn did Pharaoh finally release the Israelites. They departed Egypt in the night, walking beneath the moonlight and the winds of the desert, with Moses leading them, holding the staff of God in his hand. Before them lay the vast sea. Behind them, Pharaoh's army thundered forth, the clash of iron and the pounding of hooves drawing ever closer. Fear swept through the camp. Mothers clutched their children, fathers looked upon one another in dread. They cried, "Were we freed only to die here beside this sea?" Moses lifted his eyes to heaven and prayed, "O Lord my God, show me your way." Then the voice of the Lord came upon the wind. "Raise your staff and divide the sea. I will make my people walk through the midst of the waters, and Pharaoh shall know that I am the Lord." Moses raised his staff in faith. The wind began to howl, a mighty wind that blew all through the night, as if the very heavens were breathing with the sea. The waters rose and then parted. Two walls of water towered high on either side, deep and silent, flashing, with the reflection of lightning from above. Between them lay a dry path winding through the heart of the sea, gleaming like silver in the dark. The Israelites walked through one by one, family by family. The old leaned on their staffs, children clung to their mothers, and the torches cast a trembling light upon their faces. Fear slowly giving way to faith. Behind them, the Egyptians charged their chariots, roaring soldiers shouting in fury. But midway through, the chariot wheels splintered and stuck fast in the mud. The horses neighed in terror as thunder rolled from the heavens, the voice of God himself. When the last Israelite had stepped onto the far shore, God said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand once more." And Moses obeyed. Immediately the sea closed in. The walls of water collapsed like gates of thunder. The entire Egyptian army was swallowed in the furious waves, their screams, their steel, their horses drowned beneath the roar. Then silence. Only the still surface of the sea remained, and dawn broke over the horizon. The Israelites fell to their knees, gazing back at the waters that had sealed behind them. They knew the Lord had saved them. From slaves, they had become the chosen people, and their sacred journey under the hand of Moses had truly begun. From the far shore, they looked back once more at the sea, now calm and endless. The waves still lapped gently, but within that sound, it was as if the breath of God lingered. They were free. From bondage in Egypt, they had become a nation under the name of the Almighty. And in the vast desert they sang, "The Lord is our strength and our deliverer. He has cast the horse and rider into the depths of the sea." Yet freedom was not the end. It was the beginning, the dawn of a new covenant that only God Himself could establish. They wandered through the wilderness of Sinai, a land of heat, stone, and trial. By day, a pillar of cloud went before them. By night, a pillar of fire guided their way. Manna fell from heaven to feed them, and water sprang from the rock at Moses' prayer. Through it all, the Israelites came to understand that God was with them, not as a shadow, but as a living presence, unseen, yet all-powerful, protecting and testing them. After 3 months, they came to the foot of Mount Sinai. The mountain loomed high, its peak veiled in thick clouds and flashes of lightning. Thunder rolled and the ground trembled as though heaven itself were breathing. Moses looked up at the mountain. He knew this was the place of meeting where God would reveal His law and His mystery. He turned to the people and said, "Purify your hearts, for the Lord is about to appear." Then Moses began to climb alone as the wind howled between the rocks and the white light of heaven slowly surrounded him. They say that when he reached the middle of the mountain, the clouds thickened, thunder roared, and fire descended from above. But Moses did not fear. He stepped into the light as a son returning to his father. And there, within the radiant glory of heaven, an angel appeared, bright as fire, yet gentle as breath. The angel spoke, "Moses, you have led the people of God out of the chains of the world. Now listen to the things of heaven. I will show you how the Almighty created the universe, how the angels were appointed to guard the order of time, and how the covenants of God were written for all mankind." From that moment, the book of Jubilees began, not written by human hands, but revealed through an angel, recording all history from the dawn of creation to the days of Moses, divided into sacred cycles called Jubilees, each lasting 49 years, a perfect rhythm of time under the will of God. The angel reveals the mystery of time to Moses on Mount Sinai. When Moses was on the summit of Mount Sinai, where the Lord appeared amid thunder and fire, he remained there 40 days and 40 nights. During that time, God gave him the 10 Commandments written by His own hand upon 2 stone tablets, the foundation of divine law for the people of Israel. But within the radiant light that crowned the mountain, when the thunder had quieted and only the glow of heaven remained, an angel appeared. He was called the Messenger of Time, sent to reveal to Moses how the Almighty had arranged every age and era of the world. The angel said to Moses, "From the moment the first light was spoken into being, time itself was ordained. It does not drift by chance, but moves in sacred cycles called Jubilees. Each Jubilee lasts 49 years, 7 times 7, the number of divine completion." He explained that every event in human history unfolds within these sacred rhythms. At the end of each 49-year cycle, the earth is renewed. Debts are forgiven, slaves are set free, and the covenant between God and mankind is restored, a holy heartbeat within the universe itself. The angel said, "7 is the number of perfection, for the Lord created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. And when 7 is multiplied by 7, it becomes the cycle of eternity. the sign that all things the Creator has willed will come to fulfillment. Before Moses' eyes, numbers of living light appeared, moving like the orbits of the stars. Each circle represented a jubilee, and every revolution was a chapter in God's great plan of redemption for humanity. The angel continued, "Men see the sun rise and set and think they measure time. But in truth, time belongs to the order of heaven. From the movement of the sun to the rhythm of the seasons, all creation follows the laws set by the Lord." And the angel looked upon Moses and said softly, "There will come a day when mankind will forget this truth. They will believe they control the world, command the years, and rewrite history. Yet even if they climb to the heavens themselves, they will still walk only within the cycle God ordained at the dawn of creation." Moses listened, filled with awe. He understood that what humans call time is in fact a sacred current measured by heaven. And at the close of every 49 years, when one jubilee ends, God renews the world, extends His mercy once more, and reminds all creation that every breath and every age remain in His hands. The Book of Time, where every deed of mankind is recorded. As the light around Moses began to fade, the angel raised his hand, and before him appeared a crystalline object suspended in mid-air. Upon it, thousands of symbols made of light moved slowly like stars turning upon their axis. The angel spoke, "This is the Book of Time, where everything that has been and everything that will be is recorded. No word spoken, no thought conceived, no action taken by man passes away without being written here." He explained that this book was unlike any book made by human hands. It was not written with ink, nor carved into stone, but woven from light and the memory of the universe itself. Each page was an age, each line a soul, and every symbol an action, whether good or evil, all preserved as marks that cannot be erased. "Understand this," the angel said. "The Lord does not need to ask anyone what has happened, for time itself is the truest storyteller. Everything you do, every choice you make writes its own line upon this book." He showed Moses that some pages shone brightly, memories of souls who lived with faith and compassion. Others were dim and gray as ash, the trace of sin, arrogance, and rebellion against the divine will. Man may hide his sins from others, may blind the eyes of the world, but he cannot hide from time, for time is heaven's witness. The angel looked upon Moses and said, "Do you see, Moses? Men think their story ends when they die, but to heaven death is only a pause between sentences. Everything they have ever done, every word, every thought continues to live, still writing itself upon the unfinished pages of this book." He compared it to the world that would come. "In your age and in ages to come, mankind will take pride in recording all things with machines, with data, with artificial minds. Yet no invention will ever capture the light or the shadow within their souls. Only the Book of Heaven can do this, where even the smallest act of kindness is preserved, and every cruel deed, though unseen, can never be erased." Then the angel spoke again, his voice gentle yet resolute. "On the final day when time itself closes, this book shall be opened, and every soul will look upon its own story, every word, every action, every chance given, whether wasted or cherished. None shall be judged for what they did not know, but all shall face what they knew and chose to ignore." Moses bowed his head, and tears fell upon his hands. He understood that the justice of God does not come from punishment, but from truth revealed, a truth no soul can deny or escape. And the angel concluded, "Men may build kingdoms and craft civilizations, but without goodness in their hearts, all will crumble like dust before the wind. Therefore live as though every day were a line being written in this book, Let it shine with kindness, with faith, and with reverence for the Lord your God. Live so that when time itself comes to an end, your page will not be stained with darkness, but will glow with the light of mercy and the faith you held in the Almighty. For only goodness can grant the soul its place within the eternal light. When the angel had finished speaking, the sky above Mount Sinai began to change. The radiant light faded into a calm night. And before Moses, another vision unfolded, a realm where the earth had no form and the waters covered the deep. The angel said, "Now look, O chosen one, I will show you the first day when the Lord God created the world and laid the foundation of time." The 7 days of creation and the angel who recorded time. Before Moses, the light atop Mount Sinai melted away. There was no mountain, no cloud, only a boundless expanse where there was no day, no night. Only the Lord God, the Eternal One, the source of all that exists. The angel said, "Before the world began, there was only Him. No form, no sound, only the divine will waiting to be spoken." Then the angel raised his hand, and Moses beheld the first day of the universe. A ray of light burst forth, piercing through infinite darkness. It was not the light of the sun, but the light of the soul, the first breath of life itself. God said, "Let there be light." And the light was divided from the darkness. This was the first day, the day when light and shadow were set apart. On the second day, God formed the heavens, separating the waters above from the waters below. He called the expanse heaven. The angel said, "From this moment, heaven and earth were no longer one. Each realm would live within its own law, its own boundary, ordained by the Creator." On the third day, dry land emerged from the sea. God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation." And the land sprouted grass and trees, each bearing seed, according to its kind. The angel said, "From earth and water life began. Each seed is a promise that creation will continue in harmony with the will of the Lord." On the fourth day, God made 2 great lights, the sun to govern the day and the moon to rule the night. And He set the stars in place. He appointed them as signs for seasons, days, and years. Then the angel turned to Moses and said, "Now time begins to flow. Every revolution of the sun, every cycle of the moon is a heartbeat within the symphony the Lord composed for the universe." Moses looked upward and saw countless angels of time appear, each standing guard over a star, a season, a generation. They shone like living flames, moving with perfect order. The angel said, "From this day onward, there shall not only be time, but keepers of time. They ensure that light and darkness, day and night, never lose their balance. For if time were to falter, the world itself would dissolve into chaos." On the 5th day, God said, "Let the waters abound with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth." The seas roared with life, and wings swept through the air. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the seas and let the skies be alive." On the 6th day, God made the beasts of the earth, the cattle, and all creatures that move upon the ground. Finally, He formed man from the dust and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Man became a living soul made in the image of God. He created them male and female and said, "Be fruitful and have dominion over all things." The angel said to Moses, "This is the summit of creation. Within every human soul burns a fragment of divine light, yet also the freedom to turn away from it. For through choice, faith, and mercy, the destiny of mankind is written." On the 7th day, God rested, not because He was weary, but to establish the sacred rhythm of stillness. He blessed the day and called it holy, so that mankind would remember that no labor, however grand, is greater than the peace of resting within the will of heaven. The angel said, "The seventh day is the heartbeat of the cosmos. Should mankind forget this rhythm, the world will lose its balance. For no creation can endure without bowing before the Creator who sustains it." Moses knelt, and the light reflected in his eyes. He understood that the 7 days of creation were not only the beginning of the world, but a divine pattern for all existence, that every life must have days of labor, days of creation, and a day to return to peace with God. Then the angel spoke again. "From that day forth I, the angel who records time, was appointed to keep every cycle, every rotation, every age. I do not record the deeds of men that belongs to another. I record the pulse of time so that when one cycle closes and another jubilee begins, light will still prevail, and the covenant of the Lord will endure." When his words ended, Moses bowed low. He could feel within the whispering wind the steady rhythm of the universe, as though he was hearing the very heartbeat of heaven. And he knew then that everything which exists lives and moves within the eternal cycle of God. Adam, Eve, and the fall. As the light of the 7 days of creation faded, the world grew gentle and alive. Winds brushed over fields of new green rivers, flowed softly, and birds sang beneath a sky clear as the first dawn. Everything was perfect, no fear, no sorrow, only the peace of a world untouched by sin. In that beautiful garden, in the place called Eden, the Lord God created the first 2 human beings, Adam and Eve. He placed them in the midst of the garden, where every tree bore fruit. 4 sacred rivers flowed, and the morning light was as pure as the world's first breath. God said to them, "All that is in this garden is yours to enjoy. You may eat freely of every tree except for the one in the center, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For if you eat of it, you will know what only God is meant to know." Adam and Eve lived in pure joy. They worked, they sang, they tended the garden, and each evening when the day grew cool, the Lord himself walked among them. There was no barrier between heaven and mankind, no sin, no shame, only love and perfect trust. But the freedom God gave mankind carried with it a test, the freedom to choose to obey or to turn away. One day, as Eve walked beside the stream, a voice rose from the shadows beneath the trees. It was a serpent, its eyes bright as fire, its voice smooth as the wind. It said, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve answered, "We may eat from all the trees except the one in the middle. God said if we eat it or even touch it, we will die." The serpent gave a soft laugh, a whisper that seemed to settle inside her heart. "You will not surely die. For when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You will know, you will understand, and you will be like God himself, knowing good and evil." The words pierced Eve's innocence like a blade of thought. She looked up at the tree, its fruit glowing red, sweet with scent, shining like a jewel in the sunlight. For a moment she hesitated. Then desire rose quietly within her. Eve reached out, plucked the fruit, and took a bite. At that instant, the garden seemed to fall silent. The air changed. The wind stopped moving. Then she turned and offered it to Adam. He looked at her, then at the fruit in her hand, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then, out of love and weakness, he ate. Immediately the light around them dimmed. The sky, the trees, the birds, all were still there, but something unseen had vanished forever. They looked at each other, and for the first time in history, humanity felt shame. They saw their nakedness, hastily sewed leaves together, and their hearts pounded with fear. That evening the Lord walked into the garden as he always had. His voice was gentle and warm. "Adam, where are you?" But for the first time, Adam did not answer. He and Eve hid among the trees, trembling like frightened children. The Lord asked, "Why are you hiding?" Adam replied, "Because I was afraid, because I am naked." The Lord said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam lowered his head. "The woman you gave me, she offered it to me, and I ate." Eve whispered, trembling, "The serpent deceived me." The Lord looked upon them, his eyes filled with both sorrow and mercy. He said to the serpent, "You will crawl upon your belly, and enmity shall exist between you and the woman, and between your seed and hers forever." Then he turned to Adam and Eve. "Because you listened to another voice instead of mine, the ground will now bear thorns and thistles, and you will toil for your bread with sweat and pain. The woman will bear children in sorrow, and the man shall labor all his days to survive." The Lord sent them out from the Garden of Eden and placed angels with flaming swords at its gates, so that mankind could never return to that holy place again. When Adam and Eve looked back one last time, the eastern sky was ablaze with light, and within that radiance, the tree of life still stood shining, but forever beyond their reach. Then the angel said to Moses, his voice soft as the wind over the desert. From that moment, the time of mankind truly began. For before sin entered, time did not need to be measured, but from the day humans learned fear and pain, every hour, every year, every century became a record of their journey back to God. Moses was silent. He understood that Eden had not vanished. It was mankind who had lost the purity to remain there. And from that moment on, history began, the history of sin and the history of hope for redemption. Cain and Abel, the origin of human conflict. When Adam and Eve stepped out of the Garden of Eden, the world before them was completely unfamiliar. No more peaceful mornings, no more gentle garden. Now the wind burned against their faces, the soil was hard and dry, and nothing grew unless they toiled for it. For the first time in their lives, they knew what it meant to labor, to grow tired, to hunger, and to fear. When the sun rose, Adam plowed the ground for food. At night, Eve held her swelling belly, feeling the child move inside her, both joyful and afraid, for she knew childbirth would be painful, just as the Lord had said. And whenever rain fell, they both knelt and prayed, "Lord, please do not forget us. We have lost the place where you dwell, but let our hearts never lose faith in you." They lived with that sorrow and repentance for many years. When their first son was born, Adam named him Cain, meaning given by God. He was their hope, a new beginning in a harsh world. Soon after, Eve gave birth to Abel, a gentler, quieter child. The two boys grew up in the world their parents had once lost. Adam taught them how to till the soil and to pray before sowing seed. He often said, "Remember this, my sons. The grain does not rise because of your hands, but because God allows it to. Wherever you go, never forget to thank him." But Cain was not like his father. He was strong, confident, and stubborn. He believed that hard work alone made life possible, that a man could shape his own fate without bowing to anyone. Abel was different. He was gentle and humble, always keeping reverence in his heart. When rain began to fall, he would smile and whisper, "The Lord still remembers us." Cain heard him, but said nothing. Yet deep within, a quiet resentment began to grow. Not hatred for his brother, but a discomfort, a wound opened by someone else's faith. Then came the day when both brothers brought their offerings to the Lord. Cain offered the fruits of the earth, while Abel brought the firstborn of his flock. The smoke from Abel's altar rose high, curling upward in bright, steady light. The smoke from Cain's offering scattered and disappeared into the air. Cain watched, and his heart tightened. Why had the Lord accepted Abel's gift and turned away from his? Why was his labor not enough? The Lord spoke to Cain, his voice still gentle. Cain, why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do wrong, sin is waiting at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. Cain said nothing. The words echoed in his mind but found no place to rest. Inside him, jealousy grew slowly, silently like a fire without smoke. And so began the first story of conflict between one human and another. After the day of the offering, Cain spoke no word. He left the altar and walked alone into the fields. His hands clenched, his breath heavy, his heart pounding. That night, he did not sleep. The same question circled endlessly in his thoughts. Why did God turn away from me? He remembered the Lord's words. If you do what is right, you will be accepted. But pride would not let him believe he was wrong. The next morning, Abel came to him carrying bread and a gentle smile. Brother, don't be sad. The Lord must have his reasons. Let's pray together. Next time, he will be pleased with your gift. Cain was silent. He looked at his brother's kind face, those trusting eyes, and that kindness became unbearable. Pray, Cain said quietly. To your God, Abel hesitated, surprised, not understanding. Come, said Cain, walk with me to the field. I want to show you what I've grown with my own hands. Abel nodded, following without fear. They walked across the furrows of new soil until they reached the open field. The sky that day was calm, the breeze soft. Nothing seemed out of place. Abel knelt down to touch the earth and smiled. You've done well, brother. This field will flourish. God will bless you yet. Cain didn't answer. He stared at Abel for a long time, and in that gaze lived love, envy, pride, and regret, all tangled into one storm. A moment of silence. Then Cain's hand closed around a stone. One strike. Abel fell. No scream, only the faint sound of breath leaving his body. Cain stood frozen, staring at his trembling hands. He couldn't believe what he had done. He fell to his knees, lifted Abel's body, and cried, Abel, wake up, please. Abel. But there was no reply. The soil beneath him turned red. The wind blew again, but it was no longer the gentle wind of morning. It was the first breath of death. Cain ran. He ran until his strength gave out. But no matter how far he went, the voice of God followed him. Cain, where is your brother? Cain bowed his head, trembling. I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? The Lord said, the voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Therefore the earth that has swallowed his blood will no longer yield for you. You shall be a wanderer, restless upon the earth, carrying the weight of your sin. Cain fell to the ground and wept. Lord, my punishment is too great to bear. Whoever finds me will kill me. But the Lord in his mercy said, no one shall harm Cain. Whoever does will be avenged sevenfold. And the Lord placed a mark upon Cain so that all would know he still belonged to God, not to be forgiven, but to learn how to live, carrying the burden he had made. Cain left his parents and walked eastward toward a rising sun that no longer held hope. Adam and Eve fell to their knees beside Abel's body, their tears soaking the ground. For the first time, they felt the agony of losing a child and the pain of seeing sin live on in their own blood. Then the angel said to Moses, his voice echoing like a sorrowful wind across time, from Cain and Abel, the world learned that jealousy kills faster than the sword. And from that first drop of blood, mankind entered an age of conflict where brothers fight brothers for pride, power, and the illusion of being right. Yet still the Lord is patient, for he knows humanity will only understand love when it has seen the end of hatred. Moses bowed his head, his heart heavy. He understood that Cain's sin did not end with Abel's death. It still flows through the veins of humanity until the day mankind learns to forgive as God once forgave Cain. After Abel's death, Adam and Eve were never the same. They lived the rest of their days with a quiet sorrow, grieving not only for their lost son, but for the sin that now had a face. Whenever they looked down at the soil, they remembered Abel's blood seeping into the ground. And whenever they recalled Cain, they heard again the voice of God, echoing in their hearts. "Cain, where is your brother?" The world went on, but its innocence was gone. Adam and Eve had more sons and daughters. They grew up married, had children, and the earth began to fill with people. But along with life, sin multiplied. The generations that followed no longer truly remembered Eden. They heard the story, but it became legend, and with time, their reverence for God faded. Men began to build cities to take land to rule over one another. The strong dominated the weak. The humble were mocked, while the proud were praised. The earth grew restless and loud. Prayers became rare, drowned beneath the noise of greed and ambition. And then the angels of heaven began to notice. The angel said to Moses, "When the children of Adam multiplied, there were among the angels some who had been sent to watch over the earth. But they looked upon mankind, and the beauty of human women stirred desire within them. They forgot their oath, and they left their stations in heaven to walk among mortals." It was the first time heaven and earth met in corruption. Those fallen angels took wives among men, and from their union was born a race the world had never seen before the giants. The birth of the giants, the secret erased from the Bible. The angel said to Moses, his voice deep and distant as though carried from the ancient heavens, "When the children of Adam multiplied across the earth, the Lord sent a host of angels to watch over mankind. They were called the Watchers, guardians of the human world, tasked with teaching men righteousness, to labor with honesty, and to remember the Creator in all things." At first, they were faithful to their charge. They taught humans how to read the stars, to measure seasons, to forge metal, to write symbols, and to build in order and peace. For a time, the earth flourished under their guidance. But then something forbidden took root. The Watchers looked upon the daughters of men, and their hearts were stirred by beauty, by warmth, and by desire. It was the same whisper that had once led Eve astray, a thought that began as wonder and ended in rebellion. One among them, the mightiest of all, Semyaza, said to the others, "We know this is sin. But if we all do it together, who will judge us?" The others were silent, then nodded. And together they swore an oath, a vow, that would exile them from heaven forever. When they descended, the sky trembled. Thunder rolled, clouds tore open, and the light upon their wings faded like stars falling from the firmament. From that moment, they were no longer angels, but the fallen. They took human form, married the daughters of men, and soon the world saw the birth of a race unlike any before the Nephilim, the giants. They were massive in stature, their eyes burned like embers, their strength shook the ground. They feared no man and defied the laws of heaven. At first, mankind worshipped them, calling them sons of the gods, but reverence soon turned to terror. The giants devoured the beasts of the field, and when nothing was left, they turned against mankind. Villages vanished overnight. The rivers ran red. The sound of their roars echoed through mountains and across valleys, a sound not of hunger, but of wrath. The fallen Watchers taught men dark knowledge, how to forge weapons, summon spirits, make war, and create images to worship. They taught vanity to women, violence to men, and the earth was filled with corruption. The angel said, "And the Lord looked down and saw that flesh and spirit had mixed. There was no longer boundary between heaven and earth. And the Lord said, 'All creation has defiled itself. I will cleanse the earth.' Then God sent forth Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, his 4 great archangels, each bearing a command. Michael descended with a sword of flame and proclaimed, 'You were made of light, yet you chose the shadows. You shall be bound in the abyss until the day of judgment.' Raphael was sent to deal with the giant. 'Let them destroy one another, so that their blood returns to the soil they have defiled.' And so it was. The giants turned upon themselves in madness. The earth quaked, the sea rose, the sky burned, Their cries shook creation, and when silence fell, their enormous bodies became stone beneath the mountains, while their restless spirits still roam among mankind to this very day. The angel turned to Moses and set his voice like wind passing over the peaks of Sinai. These things are no longer written in your scriptures. For the world was not ready to know that the first sin between heaven and earth was not man's alone, but born from those who once bore the wings of heaven. Moses fell to his knees trembling. He understood that from that moment forward, sin no longer belonged only to man. It had been carved into the history of the world itself. Enoch, the witness of the fallen and the birth of Noah. The angel said to Moses, "When the blood of the giants soaked the earth, the cries of mankind rose up to heaven. And among all living souls, only one man remained righteous before God. That man was Enoch, the seventh generation, from Adam son of Jared, of the pure lineage of Seth. From his youth, Enoch feared the Lord. While others chased power, he sought truth. While others forgot to pray, he listened for the voice of heaven. The world by then was steeped in sin. The giants ruled over men. The watchers, the fallen angels, were imprisoned in the deep, and darkness stretched to the very edges of light. One day, while Enoch was praying, the angel Uriel appeared in radiant light and said, "The Lord has seen your heart. You will be chosen to carry his word to those who once had wings, and to bring their pleas before his throne." Enoch was taken up through the heavens. He beheld the majesty of the Creator, and he saw the abyss where the rebellious watchers were bound. When they saw him, the fallen angels knelt and said, "Please intercede for us. We know what we have done, but ask the Lord to remember that we were once his children." Enoch watched them. He saw sorrow in their voices, but also understood that their light had gone out forever. What remained was only fear and regret. He spoke softly, "You were born of light, yet you used that light to burn what was holy. I will pray for you, but know this sin is not only in the fall, but in refusing to rise again." Then Enoch knelt among the shadows of the valley where they were held and lifted his prayer to heaven. "Lord, have mercy on those who have strayed. Let them see your light once more." But before his prayer was finished, a voice thundered from the sky, mighty as a storm, yet sorrowful as a sigh. "Enoch, son of man, stand up. I have heard your prayer, but the justice of heaven cannot be moved. They knew good and chose evil. If I forgive them, justice will cease to exist. Go and tell them this. Their judgment has already been written in the fabric of time." Enoch bowed low, tears falling upon his hands. In that moment he understood forgiveness is not the erasure of judgment, but the chance for those who still live to change their ways. From then on, Enoch began to write. He recorded all he saw, the laws of heaven, the cycles of time, the sins of the angels, and the prophecy of a great flood that would cleanse the earth. These writings became known as the Book of Enoch. One day while he prayed, the heavens opened, a great wind surrounded him. And Enoch was taken away, never to taste death, for God brought him into heaven alive. The angel continued, "After Enoch came Methuselah. After Methuselah came Lamech. And from Lamech was born a child whose destiny was marked from birth. When the child was born, light filled the room. His eyes glowed as though reflecting the skies, and the air grew still and warm around him. Lamech trembled and said to Methuselah, 'This child is not like others. He carries the brightness of heaven within him.' Methuselah prayed, and the angel of the Lord spoke, saying, 'Do not fear, for this child is of Enoch's righteous bloodline. In his days, the waters will rise to cleanse the earth, yet he and his household will be preserved.' The child was named Noah, meaning the one who brings rest. Noah grew up in a world that had forgotten God. Men worshipped idols, the strong enslaved the weak, and the descendants of the giants still brought bloodshed to the earth. But Noah was different. He was humble, honest, and pure in heart. Each morning he prayed, 'Lord, keep my heart clean amid a corrupt world.' And the Lord saw him." The angel said to Moses, "In an age when the world had forgotten heaven, only Noah remained faithful to the covenant of his ancestors. Therefore the Lord chose him not merely to survive, but to begin the story of mankind anew. Moses bowed his head. He understood that from Enoch, who pleaded for the fallen angels, to Noah, who would redeem humanity, faith and compassion were the only flames that kept mankind remembered by God. The childhood of Noah. Why he was chosen. Noah was born in an age when mankind had forgotten heaven. They built towers to glorify their strength, raised statues of stone to praise themselves, and called their own names divine. They believed there was no power above them, that destiny belonged to their hands alone. When rain fell, they laughed at the sky. When the ground cracked with drought, they cursed the Lord instead of praying. The giants were long gone, destroyed by the wrath of God, yet their arrogance remained in the blood of men. Kings declared themselves gods, founded cults of fire, war lust, and power. Fathers taught sons to kill the strong, crushed the weak, and the righteous were mocked. The laughter of men drowned out every prayer. From sunrise to dusk, the world was filled with noise, but not a single word rose toward heaven. It was in that world that Noah was born, a child of calm in an age of chaos. Where others shouted, he listened. Where they fought, he withdrew. When they shed blood, he bowed his head and prayed that the Lord might forgive them. His father Lamech often looked at him and sighed. This child is not like the others. And Methuselah, his grandfather, would quietly reply, that is because the blood of Enoch still lives within him. As Noah grew, the world grew more corrupt. Men sacrificed flesh for favor, blood for power. False prophets preached that their gods demanded death in exchange for blessings. Women were offered as tribute, children were thrown into rivers to call for rain. The earth was thick with sin, and heaven remained silent. One night Noah dreamed. He saw the sky split open, the waters rise from the deep, and voices crying out in terror across the world. He woke trembling, drenched in cold sweat. Deep within, he knew the dream was not his own. He fell to his knees and prayed, Lord, if judgment is coming, show me what you would have me do. 3 nights later, as he prayed again, light filled his house. From it stepped an angel, Uriel, messenger of time. His light was not blinding, but warm like fire in the cold. And Uriel said, Noah, son of Lamech, the Lord has heard your prayer. The world has defiled itself. Men and beasts alike have forgotten their Maker. Justice no longer dwells upon the earth. Therefore, water will be sent not to destroy, but to cleanse. A great flood will come upon all nations, and only those who keep the covenant of the Lord will survive. Noah trembled and wept. My Lord, he said, I am only a man. How could I stand against your judgment? And Uriel replied, You were chosen not because you are strong, but because you believe. The Lord will instruct you to build a great ark. Within it you will carry the breath of life, a pair of every living creature, male and female, so that after the waters pass, the earth may live again. The light faded and Uriel was gone. Noah knelt alone in the dark, his heartbeat echoing like the wind. From that moment, he knew his destiny had been written. The next morning, he began his work. He cut timber, joined planks, and prayed with every strike of the hammer. When people passed by, they laughed. He says the world will drown. Others shouted, If that happens, he'll die before the first drop falls. Noah said nothing. When they threw stones, he gathered them quietly and kept building, each stone placed aside, as if building for the Lord himself. Years passed. The ark rose high and silent above the cracked ground. The sky had not yet wept, but Noah already heard the sound of waves within his heart. The angel said to Moses, The Lord chose Noah, not because he was flawless, but because in a world filled with pride, he was the only one who still bowed. When all sought power, he chose obedience. When all mocked, he believed. And when the waters rise, his faith will become the vessel that carries the soul of mankind. Moses remained silent, filled with awe. He understood that from Enoch to Noah, there was only one reason heaven still looked down upon the earth, because one man still chose faith when the whole world had chosen sin. the moment the great flood struck. When Noah finished building the ark, the earth was dry and cracked, and the heavens remained silent. There was no rain, no wind, only a scorching sun beating upon the barren ground as if to burn away all life. Those around him laughed, calling him mad, saying, "If your Lord truly exists, why does he leave this land to wither?" Noah bowed his head and kept sealing the hull of the ark with pitch. He knew when mankind laughs the loudest it is when they are farthest from God. Then one morning the ground began to tremble. Animals from the forests emerged from their dens, moving in pairs. Birds flew in flocks toward the ark. Deer, lions, horses, and even the smallest of creatures, all walked silently, drawn by an unseen force. Those who witnessed it laughed even louder. "He's so delusional, he's made the beasts believe him too." But Noah said nothing. He opened the doors of the ark, guiding each pair inside, and when the final door was shut, the sky changed color. Dark clouds gathered from the east, the wind howled and thunder roared. It was the first time mankind had ever seen rain. Not gentle drops, but sharp white spears falling from heaven. The thunder was not merely the sound of nature, but the voice of heaven crying out in sorrow. The rain poured day after day. Rivers swelled the seas, swallowed the land, mountains sank, and cities crumbled like dust. Those who had mocked Noah ran to the ark screaming and pounding on its walls. "Open the door, save us." Noah stood inside, eyes shut tight, tears falling into his hands. He knew that door no longer belonged to him. It had been closed by the hand of God himself. The rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights. Beneath the flood, the world vanished. The idols, the towers, the kings who called themselves gods, all were swept away as if they had never been. The sky turned black. Only the great ark floated upon the endless waters. Inside, Noah prayed each night, speaking softly to the Lord, "My God, I take no joy in seeing them perish. But if this is the way mankind must learn faith again, let me be a witness to your mercy." The angel said to Moses, and the Lord heard him. When the waters rose above the mountains, heaven wept. For he did not create man to destroy him, but to guide him back to what is good. Yet when no one listens, the water must speak in place of heaven. After 40 days, the rain ceased, but the waters still stood high, and the ark drifted beneath a pale sky for 150 days. There was no land, no tree, only the sound of waves and the breath of the Creator moving through the wind. Then one day the wind shifted. The heavens opened, and light returned for the first time in months. Noah opened the window and sent out a raven. It flew off but did not return. He waited 7 days, then sent out a dove. The dove came back carrying in its beak a tender olive branch. Noah knelt down, tears mixing with gratitude. "The Lord has forgiven us." The earth lives again. On the 310th day, the waters receded. The ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat, where the sky was clear and still as if the world had been reborn. Noah and his family stepped out, breathed deeply, and for the first time since the days of Enoch, mankind prayed with a sincere heart. Noah built an altar and offered a sacrifice of thanksgiving, and the Lord spoke from the clouds, "Never again will I destroy the earth with water." From this day forward, when the rainbow appears after the storm, it will be the sign of my covenant with all living beings, that though the world may fall into sin, I will still wait for humanity to return. Moses bowed his head, filled with awe. He understood then that the great flood was not merely punishment, but the gentle warning of a merciful God. For when man forgets the one who made him, the waters created to give life will rise again to remind him of divine justice and eternal compassion. The New Covenant. After the Great Flood. After many months adrift upon the waters, Noah's ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. When he opened the door, a gentle wind swept in fresh, clean, carrying the scent of new earth, damp and alive like the first breath of creation. The ground was soft beneath their feet, the sky clear as glass, and the clouds began to part like a curtain being drawn back from a world reborn. Noah and his family stepped onto the land, their feet touching soil for the first time since the beginning of the flood. They stood in silence, listening to the sound of wind and to the birds singing once again above the mountains. There were no more cries, no more noise, only the quiet heartbeat of a world made pure. Noah knelt upon the ground. He gathered stones, built an altar, and offered a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord. The smoke rose upward, blending with the clouds, and its fragrance reached the heavens. When the smoke ascended straight and steady, Noah knew the Lord had accepted his offering. Then from within the radiant clouds, a voice spoke, gentle, yet filled with eternal power. "Noah, my faithful servant, I have seen your heart. You did not abandon me when all the world turned away. Therefore I make with you and your descendants a new covenant." And as the Lord spoke, light began to spread across the sky. Colors intertwined, crimson, gold, and blue, forming the first rainbow. It shimmered across the heavens like a bridge between heaven and earth. The Lord said, "From this day forth, when the rainbow appears after rain, it shall be the sign of my covenant between me and mankind. Though humanity may fall and sin may abound, I will never again destroy the earth with water. For I remember that man is but dust, yet within that dust still burns the spark of faith." Noah bowed his head, tears falling onto the fresh ground. He understood then that God had not only saved them from death, He had given the world a second chance, a chance to live again under His mercy and His law. And the Lord continued, "Be fruitful and fill the earth. But do not shed innocent blood, for blood is life, and whoever takes life shall answer for it. Remember, the breath within you is mine, and you must keep it pure." Noah carved these words into stone so his descendants would never forget. He taught his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, that no treasure is greater than faithfulness and no power higher than obedience to the Lord. That night they built a fire upon the mountaintop. Its flame glowed red against the sky, and the smoke rose to meet the fading rainbow. It was as if heaven itself had accepted their vow. The angel said to Moses, "When the waters receded, the Lord did not only save mankind from death, He saved their souls from being forgotten." The rainbow is not merely the color of the sky. It is the memory of heaven's covenant with humanity. Each time mankind beholds it, they should remember that the mercy of God still endures and that the world continues to exist only because He still waits for their return. Moses lifted his eyes in silence. In his heart, the rainbow was not just a symbol of forgiveness, but a reminder of eternal hope that no matter how deep the sin, the mercy of God will always be greater. The division of the earth, the 3 bloodlines, after the flood. When the waters had fully receded and the land grew firm again, the world fell silent under a calm sky. The mountains of Ararat were veiled in mist, the valleys turned green, and birds returned to their nests. The earth breathed softly as though listening to the voice of the one who had made it new again. Noah and his family built their tents upon the slope of the mountain and began their life anew. They planted seeds, tended their flocks, and taught their children once more to pray. Each morning Noah knelt toward the rising sun and whispered, "Lord of heaven, who has given life back to the earth, let mankind never again forget your name." His 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, each had children, and the world began to fill once more with people. But as they spread across the land, a question arose. Who would dwell where? And how would the earth be divided according to the will of the Lord? One morning an angel appeared to Noah and said, "The Lord has seen that the earth grows crowded again. He commands you to divide the land among your sons, that each may know the portion given to him, and that men may not fight over the soil as they once did over power. For when man fights for land, he forgets heaven." Noah gathered his sons and their children at the foot of the mountain. The wind was still, and the clouds parted so the sun could shine upon the world below. He raised his staff and said, "Behold the earth which the Lord has restored. Here are your portions written in the book of time. Remember them, and do not covet what is not yours." He began with Japheth the eldest. Japheth, your portion lies in the north, from the cold mountains of Gomer to the distant seas. Your land will be wide and filled with winds. You shall rule the waves and the ships that sail them. But remember, riches come from the Lord, not from the might of men. Then Noah turned to Ham, strong and proud. Ham, your inheritance lies in the south, where the sun burns hot and the soil is rich. From the river Nile to the far western lands, this shall be your dwelling. But beware, for comfort can make a man forget his maker. If pride takes root, your blessing will become a burden. At last he turned to Shem, the gentle one. Shem, your portion lies between your brothers, from Assyria to the sacred land of Jerusalem, where the Lord will one day place his name. Keep your heart pure, for from your line shall come the one who will bring salvation to the world. When Noah finished speaking, the angel inscribed the boundaries into the book of time, and light moved across the heavens, tracing invisible lines upon the earth. But Ham looked upon Shem's portion and saw that it was beautiful, rich with rivers and fertile plains. Envy filled his heart, and he said to his son Canaan, "Your uncle's land is better than ours. Go take it for yourself." And Canaan did as his father commanded. He led his people westward and seized the land that had been given to Shem, the land that would one day be called Canaan, the promised land. When Noah heard of it, his heart grew heavy, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "Canaan, you have taken what was not yours. Therefore cursed shall be your seed. You will serve your brothers, and the land you have stolen will forever be a place of strife." The angel said to Moses, "From that time, the 3 bloodlines spread across the world. The sons of Japheth went north and west, becoming the ancestors of the peoples of cold and distant lands. The sons of Ham went south, founding kingdoms across the lands of Africa and the islands beyond. The sons of Shem remained in the Middle Lands, where the light of the Lord would one day descend and where the prophets would be born." Moses listened in silence, awe filling his heart. He understood that land was not merely soil to live upon. It was a witness to divine justice. For from the day Noah divided the earth, the boundaries of the world were no longer drawn by the hands of men, but by the hand of God himself. And each nation, each people was given not just a place to dwell, but a purpose in his eternal design. The second fall, the Tower of Babel. Generations passed since the first rainbow appeared. The children of Noah filled the earth once again. They built villages, founded cities, planted fields, and lived beneath the blue sky the Lord had restored. The world prospered, but the hearts of men grew hollow. The fear of God that once trembled in their chests faded into a distant memory. And the story of the great flood became nothing more than an old tale told to children before sleep. At first they still mentioned the Lord's name, but soon their prayers turned into praises of themselves. They said, "If heaven is above, then we too can reach it. If God is far away, then we shall build a way to him." In the broad plain of Shinar, fertile and flat, the multitudes gathered. A man stood among them, his voice filled with pride. "Brothers, we are the descendants of Noah, yet no one remembers his God. Let us build a city and a tower that reaches the heavens, so that our names will never be forgotten. Let us make ourselves a name that even the Lord must behold." The crowd roared in approval, and thus began the greatest work mankind had ever attempted. They dug the earth-molded bricks and burned them in fire. They labored day and night, shouting with joy and ambition. The tower rose higher than any mountain, its top piercing the clouds. The stones shone under the sun like flames of arrogance. No one spoke of God anymore. Each man only spoke of his place on the tower, who would climb higher, who would stand above the rest. They believed that whoever reached the top would become the god of men. The old and weak were left behind. The poor were forced to toil without rest. Humanity divided itself again into masters and servants, into pride and envy. The tower that was meant to touch heaven had already sunk deep into the earth's corruption. Shem, the son of Noah, watched from afar and whispered, "They have forgotten the water that once swallowed them. Now they dig the ground to lift themselves above God." But no one listened. The sound of hammers and laughter drowned out every warning. Each brick they laid was a challenge against heaven itself. The angel said to Moses, "That tower was not merely of stone and clay, it was arrogance made solid." Mankind thought they were building upward, but in truth, they were burying their souls. From above, the angels trembled as they looked down. One spoke to the Lord, "O Lord, they are walking the same path again. If you remain silent, they will forget that you are the breath within them." And the Lord said, "They believe they can touch my dwelling with their hands. But if they all speak one tongue, nothing they plan will be restrained from them. Let us go down and confound their speech, that they may remember me through confusion." A mighty wind swept across the plains of Shinar. Suddenly the voices of thousands changed. One man called for bricks, another brought water. One shouted, "Build higher," and another heard, "Tear it down." The noise turned to chaos, and the chaos to silence. Those who had once stood side by side now looked upon each other as strangers. The great tower stood unfinished, half lost in clouds, half buried in dust. The people scattered in every direction, each carrying a new tongue, a new sound, a new way of seeing the world. The unity of mankind was broken, and the second fall of humanity began not with violence, but with confusion. The angel said to Moses, "The tower was called Babel, meaning confusion, for there the Lord confused the language of man." From that day, nations spread to the ends of the earth, each with its own speech and destiny. Language became a mirror of pride, each word a fragment of the tongue once pure, the tongue that Adam spoke when he named creation. Moses bowed his head in sorrow. He understood that the Lord did not need another flood to humble the world. For when men could no longer understand one another, the world would crumble on its own. Then the angel spoke again, his voice gentle as wind over the ages. Yet the Lord did not abandon mankind. Among the scattered nations, he kept one lineage that still heard his voice, the line of Shem. From that line would come a man who would restore the covenant of light and lead the world back to faith. His name would be Abraham. The line of Shem, the origin of Abraham. After the Tower of Babel fell and humanity scattered, the world entered a new age. Nations spread across the earth, each carrying a language, a memory, and a wound. They no longer remembered that they were once brothers, children of the same family. No one spoke the same tongue, and no one remembered the same God. Instead of lifting their eyes to heaven, men carved idols from stone. They shaped the sun, the moon, the stars, and beasts, and called them gods. Every city built its own temples, burned incense, and offered sacrifices, believing that their God was greater than the gods of others. Children grew up among smoke and false prayers, and the hearts of men drifted ever farther from the true Creator. Yet among all the tribes of the earth, one bloodline still carried the memory of heaven, the line of Shem. Shem taught his descendants that there was only one Lord who made all things a God, who needed no temple and no image, for all of heaven and earth were his temple. These words were passed down from generation to generation, from Shem to Arphaxad, to Salah to Eber, to Peleg, to Re, to Serug, to Nahor, and finally to Terah, the father of Abraham. Terah was a maker of idols, a respected craftsman in the service of kings. But his youngest son Abraham was unlike anyone around him. Even as a child, he would sit before the statues in silence and ask, "Father, why do these gods not speak? If they truly have power, why do they need us to clean the dust from their faces?" Terah rebuked him, but Abraham's questions only deepened. When he looked upon the sun, he thought, "Perhaps this is God." But the sun set. Then he looked upon the moon, saying, "Maybe the moon is God." But the moon too disappeared. And then he realized the true Creator must be one who never sets. One night, while the city slept, Abraham walked alone into the fields. He looked up at the countless stars and whispered, "O Creator of all things, if you truly exist, show me who you are. I do not wish to bow to stone, but to the one who made both stone and sky." A gentle wind passed over him, and with it came a peace he had never known. From deep within his soul, a voice spoke, not loud, but clear and living. "Abraham, my son, leave your father's house and the land you have known. Go to the place I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and through you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Abraham fell to the ground, tears streaming down his face. He knew he had heard the voice of God, the same voice the world had forgotten. When morning came, he gathered his belongings and set out, taking with him his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot. People laughed and said, "The fool leaves his home to follow a whisper in the wind." But Abraham only smiled, for he knew that whisper was life itself. He journeyed through deserts and green valleys, through cities filled with idols and temples. In every place he stopped, he built an altar and prayed. "My God has no image yet. He's in the breath of every living thing," the angel said to Moses. And the Lord looked upon Abraham as he once looked upon Noah, and before him upon Enoch. In a world full of deceit, he was the one who kept his heart true. Therefore the Lord made a new covenant through him, that through the seed of Abraham, the light of faith would return to mankind. Moses bowed his head in awe. He understood that from Adam to Noah, and from Noah to Abraham, there ran a single unbroken thread between heaven and earth, the faith of those who still listen to the voice of God within their hearts. Abraham and the covenant of blood, when faith was tested. When Abraham left his homeland of Ur and crossed the barren wilderness, he did not know where he was going. He only knew that a voice had called him, and that voice felt more real than the sun itself. He walked across empty hills and rivers unknown. And wherever he rested, he built an altar of stone and prayed, "Lord, I do not know where you are leading me, but I know you are with me." Years passed, and Abraham grew old. Still, he had no child. One night he stepped outside his tent and looked at the countless stars, his heart heavy with longing. He said to the Lord, "O Lord, you have promised me a son, yet I have no heir. When I die, all that I have will pass to a stranger." Then a light descended from the heavens, and the angel of the Lord appeared before him, saying, "Abraham, lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Count the stars if you can. So shall your descendants be." Abraham looked up, tears welling in his eyes. He asked no more questions. And Scripture says, Abraham believed the Lord, and it was counted to him as righteousness. But the Lord was not finished. He said, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your inheritance. Make a covenant with me that my promise may be written not only in word, but in the earth itself." Abraham asked, "Lord, how shall I make this covenant?" And the angel replied, "Bring me a heifer of 3 years old, a goat of 3 years old, a ram of 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Cut them in two, and lay each piece opposite the other, that the path between them may be the place where I will pass." Abraham did as commanded. When he had finished, the sun began to set, and a deep sleep fell upon him. A dreadful darkness spread over the land, and he felt the weight of eternity pressing upon his heart. From within the shadows, the angel spoke, "Know this, Abraham, your descendants will be strangers in a land not their own. They will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. But I will judge the nation that enslaves them, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. This land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, shall belong to your seed." When the angel finished speaking, a flame appeared, bright and living like a torch, suspended in the dark. It moved slowly between the pieces of the sacrifice, and the smoke rose upward like incense to the heavens. Thus the covenant of blood was sealed, not written on parchment, but upon the dust of the earth, in fire and in faith. Abraham fell to his knees, tears mingling with the soil. He understood that this covenant was not only for him, but for all who would one day believe in the God he believed in. The angel said to Moses, "That covenant became the foundation of every covenant thereafter. It was not a bargain for blessings, but heaven's declaration that true faith shall never perish. From such faith all grace is born." And Moses bowed in reverence. He understood that the blood spilled that night was not of sacrifice alone, but the sacred mark of unity between God and man. Abraham lifted his eyes once more to the heavens. Above him, countless stars burned like living witnesses, each one shining as a reminder of the promise made that night between earth and heaven. Isaac, the son of promise. Years passed after the night of the covenant. Abraham lived in the dry plains of Canaan, tending his flocks and waiting for the promise of the Lord to be fulfilled. Each time he looked up at the night sky, he remembered the words, "Your descendants shall be as the stars of heaven." But as the years went by, both he and Sarah grew old. The promise seemed impossible, yet deep in his heart, Abraham still believed. One hot afternoon, as Abraham sat beneath the oak trees of Mamre, he saw 3 strangers approaching from afar. Without hesitation, he rose, ran to meet them, and bowed to the ground. He brought water to wash their feet, asked Sarah to bake fresh bread, and prepared a tender calf for them. As they ate, one of the 3, whose face shone with radiant light and whose voice carried the weight of heaven, said, "By this time next year your wife Sarah shall have a son." Inside the tent, Sarah heard and laughed quietly to herself. She thought, "I am old and my husband is old. How could I still bear a child?" But the angel heard her laughter and said, "Why does Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return, and she will hold her son." Sarah was silent. Shame and wonder filled her heart, but a spark of hope long buried came alive once more. And in the time appointed, the promise became reality. Sarah conceived and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, just as the Lord had said. Abraham named the boy Isaac, which means laughter, for Sarah said, "God has made me laugh, and all who hear of this will laugh with me." Abraham fell to his knees and prayed, "O Lord, you have done what no man could imagine to show that your word never returns void." That night, he held Isaac in his arms, watching the child sleep, the soft hair, the gentle breath, the peace of new life. And Abraham knew this was not only his son, but the living sign of faith, the answer to every doubt that ever lived in the human heart. The angel said to Moses, Isaac was not merely Abraham's son. He was the symbol of every soul that waits upon the Lord in patience. For every promise of God has its time. When men think he has forgotten, that is when he is preparing his greatest miracle. Moses bowed his head and wrote these words upon his heart, for he understood. Faith is not believing. When you can see it is believing, when everything tells you it cannot be. The final test, when Abraham offered Isaac. Years passed since the birth of Isaac. The boy grew under the warm sun of Canaan, surrounded by love and blessed by the Lord. Abraham watched his son each day, his heart overflowing with joy and gratitude. He believed the promise had been fulfilled, that the Lord's word had come true. But one quiet night, beneath a sky heavy with stars, the desert winds carried a familiar voice. The same voice that once called him out of his homeland, that had made a covenant with him. Yet this time the voice was solemn, slow, and deep, like thunder beneath the earth. "Abraham." Abraham trembled and answered, "Here I am, Lord." And the Lord said, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering." The world seemed to stop. Abraham's heart tightened. His breath caught in his chest. The words echoed over and over, "Your only son whom you love." He wanted to ask why, but no words would come. For deep within, he knew the Lord never commands without purpose. Early the next morning, Abraham rose, split wood for the offering, saddled his donkey, and took Isaac and 2 servants with him. They left before sunrise. For 3 days, Abraham walked in silence, eyes fixed on the distant mountains, the place the Lord had shown him. On the 3rd day, he saw Mount Moriah glowing faintly in the morning light. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go up to worship, and then we will return." He laid the wood upon Isaac's shoulders, and in his own hands carried the fire and the knife. Together they walked in silence. Isaac turned to his father and asked, "Father, I see the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham stopped and looked into his son's eyes. His voice trembled, but his faith did not. "My son, the Lord himself will provide the lamb for the offering." Isaac said nothing more. He trusted his father, and through that trust, he was already near to God. When they reached the place, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood. He turned to Isaac, and in the boy's eyes, he saw no fear, only faith. With shaking hands, Abraham touched his son's face and whispered, "My son, always remember the Lord is good." He bound Isaac and laid him upon the altar. His hand gripped the knife. His heart pounded. Tears fell upon the stones. The world fell silent. 2 breaths, the Father and the Son, filled the air, and heaven seemed to hold its own. Then Abraham lifted his hand. But in that instant, a voice called out from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." He stopped trembling. "Here I am," he said. The angel of the Lord spoke. "Do not lay your hand upon the boy. Now I know that you truly fear God, for you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Abraham fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Peace flooded his soul, for he understood God did not desire the sacrifice. He desired Abraham's faith, his loyalty, his heart. When he lifted his eyes, he saw a ram caught by its horns in a nearby thicket. He took it and offered it as a thanksgiving offering in place of his son. And he named that place Jehovah-Jireh, meaning the Lord will provide. Then the angel of the Lord called again from heaven, "Because you have obeyed and not withheld what you love most, I will surely bless you. Your descendants will be as countless as the stars of heaven and the sand on the shore, and through your seed all nations of the earth will be blessed." That evening, Abraham and Isaac walked down the mountain together. They said no words, but between them flowed a sacred understanding that the Lord had never wished to take, but to reveal that true faith asks for trust, not sacrifice. The angel said to Moses, "The Lord needs no offerings. What he desires is loyalty and unshakable faith." Because of this, Abraham was called the father of all who believe. Moses bowed his head, tears falling upon his hands, for he understood. The strength of faith is not measured by what we give up, but by how steadfastly we trust in the Lord, even through the hardest trials. Jacob, Joseph, and the transformation of Israel. When Abraham passed away, the promise of the Lord did not fade. It lived on in his son Isaac, who walked faithfully before God and taught his 2 sons Esau and Jacob that blessing does not come from strength, but from faithfulness. Esau was a hunter, strong, impulsive, and quick to anger. Jacob was quiet, patient, and prayerful. Even before their birth, the Lord had already chosen one to carry the covenant forward. One day Esau came in from the fields exhausted and hungry. He saw Jacob cooking a pot of red stew and said, "Give me some of that, for I am faint." Jacob replied, "Sell me your birthright first." And Esau, thinking only of the moment, agreed. For a single meal, he gave up what heaven had planned for him. Thus, the covenant blessing passed to Jacob, but that blessing came with hardship. Fleeing from his brother's wrath, Jacob wandered alone through the wilderness. One night, as he rested his head upon a stone, he dreamed of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending upon it. Then the Lord spoke in his dream, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your descendants. I will be with you and bring you back to this place." When Jacob awoke, his heart trembled. "Surely the Lord is in this place," he said, "and I did not know it." He set up the stone as a pillar and called the place Bethel, the house of God. Years later, Jacob returned home. On the night before meeting Esau, he prayed through the night, weeping for forgiveness and strength. And as the dawn broke, an angel appeared and wrestled with him until sunrise. Jacob would not let go, saying, "I will not release you until you bless me." The angel touched his hip and said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Jacob fell to his knees, his tears mixing with the dew. He understood that victory was not about power, it was about never letting go of faith. From that day, Israel, meaning he who is held by God, became the name of a nation. Israel had 12 sons, and among them was one whom the Lord loved deeply, Joseph. Joseph was pure of heart and gifted with dreams. He told his brothers, "I dreamed we were binding sheaves in the field, and my sheaf rose up while yours bowed down before it. Envy took root in their hearts. One day they threw him into a pit and sold him to merchants bound for Egypt. They brought his blood-stained robe to their father and said, "A wild beast has devoured him." But the Lord never left Joseph. Even in the darkness of prison, his favor rested upon him. Joseph was given the gift to interpret dreams. When Pharaoh dreamed of 7 fat cows and 7 lean ones, Joseph explained that there would be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Pharaoh was amazed and made him ruler over all Egypt. When the famine came, Joseph's brothers traveled from Canaan to Egypt, seeking food. They bowed before him, not recognizing their brother. Joseph saw them, his heart torn between love and sorrow. After testing their hearts, he could bear it no longer. He wept and said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But do not be afraid or grieve, for you intended evil against me. But God has turned it to good, to preserve life." The news reached their father Israel. Upon hearing it, he wept and said, "It is enough, my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." And so Israel journeyed to Egypt with all his family. There they were received with honor and lived in peace under Pharaoh's protection. In his final days, Israel blessed each of his 12 sons and said, "You shall become 12 tribes, and through your seed the promise of Abraham will spread through all the earth." When Israel closed his eyes in death, the heavens above Egypt glowed with light, for the Lord had begun a new chapter in the story of mankind, the chapter of Israel, the chosen people. The angel said to Moses, "From Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, and from Jacob to Joseph, the Lord never changed." He tested faith, but never abandoned his own. Through their trials and tears, he was preparing the path of redemption to come. Moses bowed his head and looked toward Egypt. He understood then that every trial, every exile, every tear shed by his people was part of the divine design, so that faith would endure and Israel would rise as a light among the nations. Israel in bondage, when the promise was forgotten. Generations passed, and Joseph was gone. Those who had remembered him, the man who once saved Egypt from famine, were gone as well. A new Pharaoh rose to power, one who did not know Joseph, and when he saw the children of Israel growing numerous and strong, fear took root in his heart. That fear became suspicion, and suspicion turned into hatred. And so the people of promise became slaves. They were forced to labor in the burning sun, building cities and storehouses. Their hands blistered their backs, bent under the weight of stone and whip. Their cries filled the air, mixing with dust and despair. The land of refuge had become a land of chains. Yet even in their suffering, the Israelites remembered. They whispered to their children at night. Long ago, the Lord made a promise to our father Abraham. He saved Noah from the waters. He protected Jacob, and he lifted Joseph high in this very land. If he did it once, he can do it again. But as years passed and nothing changed, their hope began to fade. They prayed less, spoke quieter, as though afraid that even heaven no longer listened. Then Pharaoh decreed, "Every newborn son of the Hebrews shall be thrown into the Nile, only the daughters may live." The river ran red with the blood of innocents. The cries of mothers echoed across Egypt, and the waters that once brought life now carried sorrow. The angel said to Moses, "The Lord was still there in the tears, in the silence, in the blood." He had not forgotten his promise. It was man who had forgotten how to see him. Amid the cruelty, a woman of the tribe of Levi gave birth to a son. She looked upon him and knew if she kept him, he would die. So she wove a basket of reeds, sealed it with tar, and placed her baby upon the waters of the Nile. She stood on the bank watching it drift away and whispered, "Lord, if you still hear us, please keep this child." The basket floated down the river through reeds and sunlight carried by destiny itself. And the Lord heard her prayer. The basket came to rest where Pharaoh's daughter was bathing. She opened it, and the baby wept. Her heart softened, and she said, "This must be one of the Hebrew children. Take him. I will raise him as my own." She named him Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. He grew up in Pharaoh's palace, educated in the wisdom of Egypt, surrounded by gold and power. Yet in his heart, the blood of Israel still burned. Whenever he saw his people beaten, his eyes filled with fire, a fire that was waiting for its appointed time. The angel said to Moses, who was writing these things years later, "The Lord placed you among your enemies so that you would learn their strength and later use it to set his people free." Nothing in his design is without meaning. Every tear is recorded in the book of time. And though the Israelites still labored under the sun each night, the mothers told their children of the promise that one day the Lord would send a deliverer, one who would not fear Pharaoh, one who would lead them out of Egypt, across the sea, and through the wilderness, back to the land promised to Abraham. And while the world believed the promise was forgotten, in the very heart of Pharaoh's palace, a child of the Hebrews, drawn out of the waters, was growing, being prepared to become the man whom God himself had chosen. The birth of Moses, the chosen one. In the darkest days of Egypt, when Pharaoh's decree still echoed through the land that every newborn Hebrew boy must be cast into the Nile, a woman from the tribe of Levi conceived a child in silence. Each night she prayed, placing her hand upon her belly and whispering, "O Lord, guard this life within me. As you once saved Noah upon the waters, save this child upon the river of blood." The child was born quietly. No celebration, no songs of joy, only the muffled breath of a mother holding her baby close, trying to silence his cries so the soldiers would not hear. The boy was strong, his eyes bright like the first dawn after a long night of despair. But the mother knew she could not keep him forever. Egyptian patrols moved through every street listening for the faintest sound of an infant's cry. For 3 months, she hid him among reeds and shadows behind trembling walls. But when she could hide him no longer, she rose before sunrise, gathered reeds from the riverbank, and wove a small basket. She sealed it with tar. To keep out the water, laid her son inside and covered him with a linen cloth. Standing at the edge of the Nile, she kissed his forehead and whispered, "You are the gift heaven has given me. I cannot keep you, but the Lord will. Let the waters carry you where his will shall lead." The basket drifted away, carrying its fragile treasure into the current. She watched until it was only a speck upon the shimmering river, then fell to her knees, tears mixing with the sand. But the Lord had heard her prayer. The basket did not sink, nor was it swept into the reeds. It floated to the place where Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe. She saw it and sent her servant to fetch it. When she opened the basket, the baby wept, and that cry struck her heart like a bell of mercy. "This must be one of the Hebrew children," she said softly. She did not know that this cry would change the course of history. She declared, "I will raise him as my own." And in the mysterious design of heaven, the child's sister, who had followed the basket from the riverbank, stepped forward and said, "Shall I find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and the girl brought the baby back to his own mother. When the mother held her son again, she whispered, "The Lord has returned you to me, though only for a time. But you belong to him. You are the chosen one." The child grew up between two worlds, among the oppressed, yet raised among rulers. When he was older, he was taken to the palace, where he learned the language of Egypt, its laws, its wisdom, and its pride. They named him Moses, meaning drawn out of the water, yet even surrounded by gold and power. Moses never forgot the people who shared his blood. Whenever he saw the Hebrew slaves beaten in the fields, he turned away, his heart burning with a pain he could not name. It was said that once standing atop the marble steps of the palace, he looked down upon the laborers under the scorching sun and felt as though a part of himself was still bound among them. The angel said to Moses, "From the moment you floated upon the waters, the Lord had already chosen your path. You were drawn out of the river so that one day you would divide the sea. You were raised in Pharaoh's house so that you would learn power and then learn to surrender it to God. For nothing in his plan is without meaning. Every tear is remembered. Every pain has purpose." Years passed, and something grew within Moses. A sorrow that was not his own, and a calling he did not yet understand. On quiet nights, He would walk beyond the palace walls, look up at the stars over Egypt, and whisper, "If you are truly there, Lord, where are you in the cries of my people?" He did not yet know that soon the Lord would answer him, not through thunder, not through power, but through a bush burning with fire that would not be consumed. The burning bush, when God called. Years had passed since Moses left the palace of Egypt. He now lived in the wilderness of Midian, a barren land where wind carved the rocks and time itself seemed to sleep. He had taken a wife, tended flocks, and thought his life would fade quietly among the mountains. But deep within him, a flame still burned, a question that would not die. One morning, as the sun rose over the ridges, Moses led his flock beyond the desert to the mountain of Horeb, the mountain of God. The air was still, as if the world itself were holding its breath. As he walked, he noticed a bush standing alone among the stones. Suddenly, it burst into flames. The fire blazed with golden light, yet the branches did not burn and the leaves were not consumed. Moses stopped stunned. He stepped closer, whispering to himself, "How strange. The bush burns yet is not consumed. I must go near and see this great sight." But as he drew closer, a voice called out from the midst of the fire, not like the voice of man, but like the echo of heaven and earth speaking as one. "Moses, Moses." Moses trembled and answered, "Here I am." The voice replied, strong, deep, yet filled with tenderness, "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Moses fell to his knees. The light wrapped around him, and the voice continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At those words, Moses covered his face. He dared not look upon the flame, for he knew he was standing before the Creator of all things. Then the Lord said, "I have surely seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cry, and I know their pain. Therefore I have come down to deliver them and to bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey." The fire flickered brighter, alive with divine power. Then the Lord spoke again. "Now therefore go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt." Moses bowed low, trembling. "O Lord, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? I am no leader, only a shepherd in the wilderness." And the Lord said, "I will be with you. And when you have brought my people out of Egypt, you shall worship me on this very mountain." Still trembling, Moses asked, "But if I go to the Israelites, and they ask, 'What is his name?' what shall I say to them?" And from within the flame came the voice that would echo through eternity, "I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you." The fire glowed brighter than the sun, yet it gave no heat, only light, pure living light. Moses fell upon his face, and in that moment the shepherd of the desert became the messenger of God. The angel said to Moses, as he later wrote these words, "You were not chosen because you were mighty, but because you listened." And when one man truly hears the voice of the Lord, the whole world begins to change. As the flames upon the burning bush began to fade, Moses lifted his eyes, light still flickering within them. There upon the barren ground of the desert, he knew that his quiet life as a shepherd had ended. He was being sent to stand before the greatest empire on earth, before a king who called himself a god, to free a people who had been enslaved for 400 years. Then the voice of the Lord came once more, echoing through wind and fire. "Go now, Moses. Say to Pharaoh, 'Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, Israel is my firstborn son. Let my son go that he may serve me.'" Moses bowed low, his heart trembling with both fear and faith. He knew he was only a man, but behind him stood the one who never breaks his promise. In his hand was a simple shepherd's staff, but from that moment on it became the symbol of divine power. As Moses left Horeb, his shadow stretched long upon the desert sand, and each step he took sounded like the first beat of a sacred drum. A march, not of war, but of righteousness, rising against arrogance, of mercy, standing against tyranny. And far away in the land of Egypt, the Nile still flowed red beneath the setting sun. Pharaoh sat upon his golden throne, unaware that a man who once grew up within his very palace was returning, carrying with him the voice of heaven. The 10 plagues upon Egypt. When Moses returned to Egypt, he was no longer the wandering shepherd of his youth. In his hand was a simple wooden staff, yet it carried a power that no throne could compare to. When Pharaoh heard that Moses had returned, he ordered him to come to the palace. In the cold, vast hall, 2 men stood face to face. One was the king of the mightiest empire on earth, the other the messenger of the Lord. Moses spoke calmly, yet his voice echoed through the chamber. "Let the people of Israel go, that they may serve the Lord their God." Pharaoh smirked with disdain. "Who is this Lord that I should obey him? Your slaves will remain, for no God is greater than I." As his arrogant laughter rose to the ceiling of the palace, the earth itself stayed silent. But that very night, Egypt began to witness what mankind had never dared to imagine. The first plague came. The skies were clear, and the Nile flowed as always. But when Moses raised his staff, the water changed color. The once crystal waters turned deep red and thick, and the stench of blood filled the air. Fish floated to the surface in waves. People rushed to draw water, but what poured into their jars was only blood. Panic spread along the banks as they dug new wells, yet even the water in the ground turned red. Children's throats went dry, and adults looked at each other in horror. The Nile, the lifeline of Egypt, had become a river of judgment. The second plague followed. That night, from the foul waters, countless frogs poured onto the land. They leapt everywhere, onto tables, into beds, even into Pharaoh's temples. The croaking filled the air, drowning out the prayers of the priests. No one could eat or sleep. Children screamed, and even the royal palace reeked of decay. When the frogs died, people piled them into heaps, and the stench covered the land. Egypt suffocated in its own disbelief. The third plague came. When people thought the earth had finally settled, desert winds rose, sweeping fine dust across the plains. The dust turned into gnats, tiny as grains of sand. But so thick they dimmed the sun. People slapped their faces and scratched their skin, but the gnats multiplied like endless waves. Farmers abandoned their fields, children covered their mouths, the elderly lay helpless. Egypt's magicians tried their magic, but failed. They came before Pharaoh trembling. "This is the power of God." But Pharaoh turned away, his eyes cold as iron. The fourth plague struck. From the southern swamps, swarms of biting flies rolled in like black smoke. They covered the sky, clung to skin, crawled into eyes and mouths, driving people mad. Egypt screamed, but in Goshen, the land of the Israelites, there was peace. Egyptians looked toward that quiet land and shuddered. For the first time, they began to believe that the God of slaves was stronger than their stone idols. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved. The fifth plague came next. At dawn, as mist still lay over the fields, the sound of cattle lowing echoed through the plains, then fell silent. Horses, donkeys, camels, sheep all collapsed at once, struck by an unseen hand. Their bodies littered the fields, flies swarmed, and shepherds wept. The stench of death reached as far as Memphis. Yet in Goshen, the herds of Israel stood unharmed. The Egyptians began to truly fear, but Pharaoh gripped his throne tightly, hiding the doubt creeping into his eyes. The sixth plague arrived like the burning breath of the abyss. Moses took ashes from the furnace and scattered them into the air. As the ashes fell, boils erupted across the skin of people and animals alike. The pain was unbearable. The cries of suffering filled the streets. Even Pharaoh's magicians, the proud servants of the crown, fell to the ground covered in sores. Still, Pharaoh refused to bow. He sat alone in the dark, silent, unaware that heaven's wrath had only begun. The seventh plague fell like no storm before it. The sky turned dark purple, the clouds thick as metal, and thunder rolled over the Nile. Hail mixed with fire rained down, burning and shattering everything in its path. Trees broke, animals died, and people hid under the rubble. Those who once worshipped the sun now knelt in the mud, trembling beneath lightning that tore the heavens apart. When the storm ended, Egypt lay in ruins, its fertile plains buried under a blanket of ash. The 8th plague followed soon after. From the east, a wind arose, and with it came a moving cloud of locusts that darkened the sky. They covered the land, devouring everything left after the hail. No leaf remained, no flower, no grain, only barren earth and silence. Egypt's green was gone. The empire that once gleamed like gold now looked like a cursed wasteland. The people wailed, begging Pharaoh to release Israel. But he clung to his throne as if power could still save him. The 9th plague came in utter stillness. No thunder, no wind, only darkness. A darkness so thick that one could not see a hand before one's face. For 3 days, Egypt sat motionless. Children fell silent. Adults dared not move, fearing that the darkness itself would swallow them whole. But in Goshen, light still shone. The Egyptians whispered, "The light is with them, and we have been abandoned." And then came the 10th plague, the night humanity would never forget. The air was still. The wind ceased, and the people thought it was over. But in the dead of night, a cry pierced the silence. Then another, and another. A child did not wake, then another, then another. From Pharaoh's palace to the poorest hut, the firstborn of every house lay dead. The cries spread across the land so full of sorrow, it felt as though the earth itself was weeping. Pharaoh sat frozen on his throne, his son in his arms, his eyes void of life. His voice broke to a whisper, "Go, take your people and leave this land." When that night of mourning passed, the first dawn broke over Egypt, dim and gray, like smoke. The nation held its breath behind closed doors, where grief still lingered. Along the dusty roads, the Israelites walked in silence. There were no trumpets, no songs of triumph, only footsteps fading into the mist. They carried bread that had not yet risen, wrapped hastily in cloth. They carried their children, their belongings, and the last remnants of fear still clinging to their hearts. No one spoke, but everyone knew they were leaving the past behind. Behind them lay a broken Egypt, its furnaces cold, its temples crumbled. Before them stretched a road no one had ever walked, one that only faith could lead. Moses walked at the front, the staff in his hand, his gaze firm and steady, as though he knew every step had been written by heaven. The desert wind rose, carrying the faint voice of a child. "Father, where are we going?" And the father answered softly, "To the place the Lord has promised." The sky that day was strangely beautiful. The sunlight shone on the sand, glinting off faces, streaked with sweat and tears. Amid the ruins, they realized they were still alive, and within that fragile moment, they felt something new, freedom. But it was a fragile freedom, like the first breath after a long night. When the multitude reached the sea, the waters stretched before them endlessly, its waves crashing and roaring. The wind howled across the shore, and the people stopped. They looked around silent as the sound of Pharaoh's chariots began to thunder behind them. Between sky and sea, between fear and faith, Moses tightened his grip on the staff. He lifted his eyes to heaven, exhaled slowly, and understood where the road of man ends, the path of God begins. The parting of the Red Sea, the grace and power of God. The night wind swept across the sea, cold and heavy, like the breath of destiny. The people of Israel stood crowded upon the shore, the vast waters before them, and the thunder of Pharaoh's chariots echoing behind. Children cried, men shouted, and the elders trembled, gripping each other's hands. Someone screamed in despair. "We should have stayed in Egypt. At least there we had food to eat. Out here, there is only death." Moses stood among them, his robe whipping in the wind, the moonlight glinting off the dust on his face. He looked around and saw fear, doubt, and faith trembling on the edge of breaking. He knew this was not just a flight from Egypt. It was a final test to see who still believed in the Lord. He lifted his eyes toward heaven, raised his staff, and whispered, "Lord, show me your way." Then the wind shifted. A strange light shone from the heavens and spread across the water. Thunder rolled far off in the distance, and the sea began to move. The waves rose, swirled, and then split apart, towering walls of water on either side, stretching deep into the seabed. Before their eyes, in the middle of the sea, lay a path of dry ground, gleaming like silver beneath the moon. The people fell silent. Only the sound of the wind and the beating of their hearts remained. Moses turned to them, his voice steady and strong. "Walk forward, for the Lord has opened the way." The first stepped in, then the second, and soon the entire multitude began to move. They walked between the walls of water, beneath the breath of the storm, their torches flickering against the trembling sea. Fear still lingered in their eyes, but within that fear was something stronger. Faith born not of knowledge, but of surrender. Behind them came the sound of Pharaoh's army, shouting, the crack of whips, the roar of wheels. The torches of Egypt glowed red against the horizon. After them, Pharaoh cried, "The sea will close soon enough." But as the soldiers entered the seabed, their wheels jammed their horses, stumbled, and from the heavens came a peal of thunder, like the roar of 1,000 storms. The wind turned. The sea began to collapse. The waters crashed down, furious, immense, unstoppable. The cries of men and beasts were swallowed in a single wave. When the morning sun rose, the sea was calm again, as if nothing had ever happened. And on the far shore, the people of Israel fell to their knees, gazing at the waters that had closed behind them. They knew they had been saved not by their own strength, but by the grace of God. Moses looked toward the eastern sky and whispered, "Not because we were worthy, but because the Lord has shown us mercy." Some say it was merely a strong wind or a sudden retreat of the tide, that nothing miraculous truly occurred. But if you had stood there watching thousands walk safely through the depths, while the sea waited for them to pass, you would know this was no coincidence. No wind can divide an ocean, and no tide waits patiently for faith to finish its walk. It was the power of the Creator, the one who commands the waters to retreat, so that mankind may kneel. The one who bends nature to remind us that His grace is greater than our understanding. When the people of Israel stood on the far shore, the sunrise touched their faces. And for the first time in history, a nation of slaves became a nation of the free. Freedom did not come through strength, but through faith. The sea did not open for those who doubted, it opened for those who dared to believe that even when no path could be seen, God could still create one. The journey through the desert, when faith was tested. When the people of Israel left the shore, the wind still carried the scent of salt, and the echo of the waves reminded them of the miracle they had just witnessed. But miracles do not feed the body forever. Ahead of them lay no rivers, no trees, no shelter, only an endless desert blazing beneath the sun. At first they sang songs of joy, retelling how the Lord had parted the sea for them. But within days, the songs faded into silence, replaced by murmurs of complaint. Children cried from thirst, the elderly collapsed in exhaustion, and groups of men began to glare at Moses. "Did you bring us out of Egypt to die here?" they shouted. "In Egypt at least we had water. Here there is only sand and suffering." Moses looked around. He saw only cracked earth and desperate eyes. He lifted his face to the heavens and whispered, "Lord, they still do not understand. Have mercy on them, for they have not yet learned how to believe." That night the wind changed. From the darkness, a pillar of fire appeared, towering and bright, glowing red, like the heart of the sky. It burned silently, but gave warmth and light, guiding their way. And when morning came, the fire softened into a great cloud drifting above them, shading the people from the heat. From that day forward, the Lord led them by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So they would know that even when they could not see Him, He was still there. But the human heart forgets easily. When they came to a harsher land and their waterskins ran dry, they complained again. "Why should we trust a God who brings us no water?" some shouted. Moses said nothing. He walked alone into the wilderness, knelt beside a great rock, and prayed. Then he struck the stone with his staff, and water burst forth, clear, cold, and sweet as a river from heaven. The people ran to drink tears mixing with the water. And for the first time they understood that sometimes miracles come only when man kneels. Days passed and hunger came. They said, "If only we had stayed in Egypt, where there was bread and meat to eat." Again Moses prayed. And when dawn came, tiny white flakes covered the ground like morning frost. He tasted one and said, "This is manna, the bread of heaven. The Lord commands that you gather only enough for today, that he may test your faith." But some were greedy. They gathered more, hid it away, and by morning it had spoiled and stank. Moses looked at them with sorrow in his eyes. The Lord does not ask you to hoard, he asks you to trust that he will provide again tomorrow. And so, day after day through the vast wilderness, the people of Israel were fed by manna from heaven and guided by the cloud and fire of God. Slowly, they began to learn that freedom was not doing whatever one wished, but walking in obedience and trust. They began to see that the God who freed them did not promise ease, but purpose. Yet still people faltered. Some grew weary and bitter. Some turned away. And one quiet night, as the camp slept, Moses sat alone before his tent, gazing at the stars. "Lord," he whispered, "I cannot bear this people alone. They doubt you, they forget your mercy, yet they are still your children. Do not abandon them." And through the wind came a voice gentle yet firm. "Moses, I have never left you. Go on, for I will go with you." The road to the promised land is not for the strong, but for those who keep their faith. From that day on, whenever the sun burned hotter or the winds of the desert grew fierce, Moses kept walking staff in hand, eyes steady. The people followed weary, but still moving, for they knew that if the Lord had once parted the sea, he could make the desert bloom. That is the journey of faith, without maps, without shortcuts, guided only by trust. And when humanity learns to believe even in the midst of hardship, only then do they truly understand what it means to be saved. Mount Sinai, where the angel recorded the book of time. This is the same event we mentioned at the beginning of the video. After 40 years of wandering through the wilderness, when the wind had erased their footprints and their complaints had faded into the sand, the people of Israel finally stopped at the foot of Mount Sinai. The mountain rose high, its peak hidden in clouds, and fire a gateway between heaven and earth. It was there that the Lord had chosen not only to give his law, but also to reveal the history of mankind to the one he had chosen. Moses climbed the slope alone. The same staff was still in his hand, but his heart no longer knew fear. He had seen the sea divide, water spring from stone, and manna fall from heaven. And he understood now that miracles were never meant to make people believe in wonders, but to make them believe in the one who performs them. When he reached halfway up the mountain, the clouds thickened. The ground trembled, and a radiant light surrounded him. Thunder rolled, and in that brilliance appeared the angel of time, the same one who had spoken to him on the mountain before. His garments shone like fire, yet his voice was soft as the wind. The angel spoke, "Moses, son of the faithful, the time has come for you to record the things that have been since the beginning of creation. From the moment heaven and earth were formed until this day, every age has been marked by the sacred cycle called the Jubilee. Each Jubilee is 7 times. 7 years, 49 years, the heartbeat of time, the rhythm of heaven moving through the story of mankind." As the angel spoke, symbols of light appeared before Moses, moving gently through the air like falling stars. Each symbol represented a century, a covenant, a sin, a promise. Moses saw the birth of Adam, the fall of mankind, the flood of Noah, and the fire of Abraham's faith, each vision alive before his eyes. The angel continued, "This is the book of time where all things are written, so that humanity will know the Lord never forgets. He not only created the world, but ordered history so that man might find his way back to him. When they sinned, he raised the righteous. When they strayed, he sent his messengers. And when they broke the covenant, he began a new era to remind them of his mercy. Moses listened, tears streaming down his face. He saw clearly the cycles of humanity, sin, judgment, repentance, and redemption. He understood then that time was not a blind river, but a book already written by the hand of God before the world began. The angel spoke once more, his voice echoing through the cloud. "Write all of this down, Moses. For a time will come when mankind will forget their origin and doubt the hand that formed them. They will say the universe came by chance and that time has no master. But those who read this book will know not a grain of dust falls outside the will of God, and not a single century passes without his design." As the light faded, Moses knelt, his hand resting upon the warm stone. He began to write line by line, word by word, in the breath of the wind and the rumble of distant thunder. Each word he carved was not merely history, but a testimony for all generations to come. That time belongs to the Lord, and mankind is only redeemed when it lives rightly within his divine order. The Eternal Covenant. When the law was given. On the summit of Mount Sinai, thick clouds gathered, thunder rolled across the cliffs, and smoke rose like the breath of a furnace. The people of Israel stood trembling at the foot of the mountain, watching lightning tear through the heavens and hearing the thunder echo like the heartbeat of heaven. They knew the Lord himself was there among them. Moses knelt at the top of the mountain, his hands resting upon a glowing stone. Beside him stood the angel holding letters made of fire, each stroke of light etching itself into 2 stone tablets. No other man could hear the words, but they would be carried through all generations. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or bow down to any created thing. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which I give you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor." The words burned into the stone as if into the soul of creation itself. For a moment the heavens flashed, then fell silent. Only the wind whispered. The angel turned to Moses, his voice deep and resonant like a distant bell. "This is the eternal covenant between the Lord and his people. It is not given to bind them, but to lead them back to the holy will. For when mankind forgets the law, they lose themselves in the darkness of their own hearts." Moses bowed his head. He knew that from this moment, humanity could never again claim ignorance of what is right. The law had been given, and from that day forth, every soul must choose to keep the covenant or to break it. But while Moses remained upon the mountain, the people below grew restless. Days passed. The thunder still rumbled, but Moses did not return. Fear crept in. They said, "Perhaps he is dead. We need a God we can see." Aaron, his brother, listened to the cries of the people and took their gold, melting it into the shape of a golden calf. When the idol was raised, shouts of joy filled the air. They danced, they sang, and they said, "This is our God, the one who brought us out of Egypt." The firelight gleamed upon their faces, and in that light, sin was born at the very foot of the sacred mountain. On the summit, Moses heard the noise rising from below. The angel's eyes turned sorrowful, for he knew what was happening. Moses took the tablets and rushed down the mountain. And when he saw the revelry, the songs, the laughter, the glittering calf, anger and grief filled him like a storm. He lifted the tablets high and hurled them to the ground. The stones shattered, and the letters vanished into smoke, as if the covenant itself had been broken by human hands. Moses cried out, his voice thundering across the camp, "What have you done? You worship the Lord who saved you, and yet betray him in the same breath." The people fell silent faces to the ground. But the truth stood before them. Sin had entered the day of holiness. The Lord's wrath burned. The clouds darkened, lightning tore through the sky. Yet Moses fell upon his knees, hands pressed into the dust, tears streaming down his face. "Lord, if you would destroy them, then erase my name from your book." But please do not forsake them. They are weak, but still yours." The heavens grew quiet. Then from within the cloud came a voice strong, yet filled with mercy. "I will not destroy them, for I am the Lord, slow to anger and rich in compassion. Carve 2 tablets of stone once more, and I will write the covenant again." Moses obeyed. When he climbed the mountain again, the angel appeared once more. Yet this time his light was gentler. The covenant was written again, not only upon the stone, but upon the hearts of those who would listen. Moses remained there 40 days and nights, eating nothing, drinking nothing, sustained only by the word of God. When he came down, his face shone so brightly that the people could not look at him. In his hands were the new tablets, and his voice trembled as he said, "The Lord has forgiven us." He asks not for offerings, but for faithfulness. From that day forward, the Israelites began to build the tabernacle, and the covenant was placed inside the ark, a sign of the Lord's presence among them. They understood then that the law was not a burden, but a path. For if the sea had been opened to let them walk through, the law was the bridge that would keep them from losing their way again. And upon Mount Sinai, where the angel had recorded the book of time, the first chapters of humanity's faith were completed not through power, but through mercy and through the eternal covenant between heaven and man. The 72 nations, how heaven divided the earth. On the summit of Sinai, where cloud and fire still wrapped the mountain, Moses knelt in silence as the voice of the angel echoed through the wind. After the law had been given, he thought the revelation was complete. But the angel said, "Not yet, O chosen one. What you have learned is what was given to mankind. Now I will tell you what few have ever known, how the Lord set the order of the world after the great flood." The light around them softened, and before Moses appeared another vision. The waters withdrew from the earth, mountains rose from the deep, and the great ark of Noah rested upon the peak of Ararat. The angel said, when the waters receded, Noah and his 3 sons stepped out. They looked upon the world desolate and silent, and understood that they were the beginning of humankind once more. The angel lifted his hand, and Moses saw the 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, kneeling before an altar, offering sacrifice and thanksgiving to the Lord. The Lord blessed them, said the angel, and divided the world into 3 parts for them to inherit. Shem received the sacred lands from the east to the west, the mountains of Ararat, the plain of Shinar, and the land that would one day be called Israel. Japheth received the north, the lands of cold seas and high mountains, stretching toward the edge of the horizon. And Ham received the south, the sun-scorched plains, the valleys of Egypt, and Canaan lands of testing and trial. Moses watched the division and asked, "Why 3 parts and not 1? Are they not all sons of Noah?" The angel answered, his voice low and resonant, "Since the fall of man, they no longer speak with one tongue. In his wisdom, the Lord divided them so that the world would not destroy itself. To each nation, he appointed a heavenly guardian, a watcher of righteousness, to guide and protect them. And so there came to be 72 nations, each with its own language, its own land, and its own destiny." Before Moses' eyes, humanity appeared as lights scattered across the earth, each glowing with its own hue. Some burned bright as stars, others flickered weakly as though fading. From that day, said the angel, the Most High set a heavenly being over every nation, that they might remember who rules the heavens. But among them all, one people the Lord kept for himself, Israel. For the Lord said, "The nations I give to the angels of heaven, but Israel is the portion I reserve for my own." Moses bowed his head. He understood then that this was not favoritism, but preservation, that the Lord chose Israel not for its strength, but to keep faith alive upon the earth, so that even when the world strayed, there would still be a people who remembered him. Every nation, said the angel, has its place within the book of time. Those who honor justice and compassion will be blessed. Those who forget their Maker will fall into ruin. And when the ages have passed, the Lord will establish a new covenant, not written on stone, but upon the hearts of those who remain faithful. The angel pointed to the heavens. Moses saw stars moving in perfect circles, each star representing a nation turning in its appointed course. But in the center, one star shone brighter than all, unmoving and constant. "Do you see?" said the angel. "That is the star of Israel, the nation held in the hand of God. When the others stray from their paths and call themselves gods, that one remains steady, because it is anchored in faith, not power." Moses was silent. He realized the vision before him was not merely history, but the map of the human soul, a reflection of the divine order behind every nation and every age. The light began to fade. The wind grew still, and the angel said, his voice like a distant bell, "Write these things down, Moses. For the day will come when mankind will ask, why are there many nations, many tongues, many beliefs? When they read this book, they will understand that nothing was by chance, for every border, every people, every age has been arranged by heaven." Moses knelt, his hands trembling as he wrote by the dim glow upon the mountain. He knew that what was being revealed was not just knowledge, it was a message for all generations, that every nation has one Father, and every era turns within a single divine design, that in the end, all will return to the Lord who made them. The second fall of humanity, when mankind forgot the covenant. The smoke over Mount Sinai had not yet cleared when the angel turned to Moses, his gaze heavy with sorrow. His voice rolled like distant thunder. "Moses, you have seen how the Lord divided the earth and set guardians over every nation. But a time will come when men will forget the one who created them, and they will begin to worship those who were only sent to guide them." Moses looked up and asked, "How can that be if they have seen the miracles and received the law of the Lord?" The angel shook his head, and the light around him dimmed. "Because the heart of man is weak, and power is more tempting to him than faith. When nations grow strong, they will forget who gave them that strength. Kings will call themselves gods. Nations will cast idols of gold and bronze and bow to their own creations. Some of the heavenly watchers who were sent to protect them will stay faithful, but others will accept the worship of men, and by doing so, they will fall." Before Moses' eyes, visions unfolded. He saw men building towers that touched the clouds, raising flags on mountains, and spilling blood in the name of glory. Great temples rose from the ground, filled not with the Spirit of God, but with the pride of humankind. The air was thick with music and screams, the sound of celebration mixed with despair. The earth itself seemed to groan under the weight of its own corruption. The angel spoke again. "When mankind forgets the covenant, their hearts will become empty. They will fill that emptiness with darkness. They will kill and call it justice, betray and call it freedom, and worship themselves while pretending to seek truth. And the world will sink once more into a long night." Moses trembled. "Will the Lord allow such a thing to happen again?" The angel's expression softened. "The Lord will not let darkness reign forever, but he will let men see what becomes of their pride. For only when they have tasted the bitterness of arrogance will they learn the sweetness of humility. Only when they lose the light will they remember to pray for dawn." The vision shifted. Moses saw endless wars, nations devouring nations, kings slaughtering kings. Even the holy lands ran red. Men invoked the name of God to justify their cruelty, twisting truth into chains. And in the heavens, the loyal angels wept. The angel continued, "Part of this evil will rise from men themselves, but another part will come from those who once walked among us. The watchers who were cast into the abyss have not been silenced. Through dreams, through whispers, through desire for power, they will tempt the minds of men, convincing them that they no longer need God. And when man believes that lie, he will forge his own chains." Moses closed his eyes. "What will become of the world then?" The angel raised his hand, and in the sky above, light and shadow twisted together like two winds locked in battle. "There will come a time when the righteous are mocked and the wicked are praised. A time when men claim to be wiser than heaven. They will create life, reshape flesh, and call it science. They will scorn morality as weakness and crown sin as freedom. And when they believe they have reached their greatest height, they will in truth be standing at the edge of their deepest fall. Tears welled in Moses' eyes. Then what of the covenant? Will mankind ever be saved? The angel's tone softened like a breeze over cool sand. There is still hope. For the Lord does not abandon what he has made. When sin reaches its peak and the world is drowning in its own darkness, the Lord will send one man, not a king, not a warrior, but a bearer of mercy. He will come quietly, born among the humble, and though the world will not recognize him, his words will shake the heavens. Through him all nations will remember love, and the covenant will be renewed, not written on stone, but written on the hearts of men. The wind surged and the light around them flickered. Moses fell to his knees, his tears mixing with the dust. He did not yet understand it all, but in his heart he knew this truth, that no matter how many times mankind fell, the grace of God would always be greater than their sin. The angel spoke once more, his voice like a bell, echoing across eternity. Write these words, Moses, for they are prophecy. When mankind believes they have replaced the Creator, remind them that even their breath is borrowed from him. And when the world sinks into chaos, know this: the Lord is still there, waiting for his children to return. The light faded, leaving Moses alone in the quiet wind. He looked down from the holy mountain toward the vast, fragile world below, a world unaware of how close it stood to both ruin and redemption. Then he began to write line by line, so that when the generations forgot heaven, the book of time would remind them that everything had been foretold and that all of history still rests within the hand of God. The prophecy of the Redeemer. When heaven foretold the coming of the promised one. Upon the summit of Sinai, as the winds quieted and the fire within the clouds dimmed to a soft glow, Moses remained kneeling, his hands gripping the scroll that held the words of the angel. He thought the revelation had ended, but the angel still stood before him, the light around him shifting from gold to white, gentle as the first light of dawn. Moses, chosen to record the story of mankind, said, "The angel, you have seen creation, sin, and the fall. Now hear of what is to come, when heaven will once again take pity on the earth, and the Redeemer shall descend in an age of darkness." Moses lifted his gaze, awe in his eyes. A Redeemer? You mean one will be chosen to save humanity again? The angel nodded, his radiance spreading across the mountaintop like a quiet flame. The Lord ordained this before the foundations of the world. When sin covers the nations, when innocent blood cries from the ground, when men worship themselves and forget their Maker, then the Lord will send one man. He will come from the line of Abraham, the root of David. He will not be born among riches, but among straw and the breath of beasts. He will carry no sword, only truth. He will wear no crown of gold, but a crown of thorns. Yet his words will cause heaven and earth to listen. A breeze swept across the mountain, and before Moses appeared, fleeting visions of a humble man walking among the people, healing the sick, comforting the broken, and speaking of the love of God as if he himself were that love. He will be rejected by the world, the angel continued, his voice echoing like a sacred bell, for the light is not loved in darkness. The self-righteous will condemn him, and he will be slain by those he came to save. But on the third day, while heaven still weeps, the earth will tremble, the stones will break apart, and his spirit will rise again, opening the gate of forgiveness for all mankind. Tears welled in Moses' eyes. One man will bear the sins of all humanity. Who could possibly endure such a burden? The angel's gaze softened, his tone tender yet firm. None can except he who comes from God himself. He is the Word made flesh, the living covenant between heaven and earth. When he speaks, it will not be the voice of a man, but of the Creator, calling his children home. Moses bowed low, tears falling to the sacred ground. His heart trembled with both fear and hope. And will humanity recognize him? he whispered. The angel paused before answering. Some will, and they will be saved. Others will turn away and lose the gift prepared for them. Yet in the end, love will triumph. For nothing is stronger than the mercy of the Lord. As the angel spoke, the sky began to change. Stars emerged above Sinai, brighter and nearer than on any other night. A gentle wind carried what sounded like a distant song, warm and solemn. This said, "The angel is what heaven prepared from the beginning." When the time comes, the skies will open, and a star will appear to guide the nations. And those who follow its light will know the new covenant has begun. Moses fell to the ground, pressing his hands into the earth. He realized he was hearing a secret meant for generations unborn. Let me remember every word he prayed, so that those who come after will know that God never forgot them. The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder. His final words shimmered in the air like silver. "Write this down, Moses. For when the world despairs, they must know that redemption was promised. When they believe heaven is silent, remind them the Redeemer is already on his way." Then the light faded into the clouds, and the mountain fell quiet once more. But within Moses' heart, the fire did not go out. He knew that one day when the appointed time arrived, heaven would open again, and the promise spoken on Sinai would come true among men. The sealing of time. When the angel closed the final mysteries. After the prophecy of the Redeemer was spoken, the wind atop Mount Sinai changed. It no longer roared with divine might, but drifted gently, carrying with it the quiet breath of farewell. The light around the angel softened, yet did not fade. It glowed with the calm persistence of an eternal flame. Moses lifted his eyes. He knew the encounter was nearing its end, but countless questions still stirred within him. His voice trembled as he asked Lord's messenger, all of this, the creation, the fall, the covenant, and the Redeemer to come, when I write it down, will humanity have faith enough to understand? The angel gazed upon him for a long moment before replying, his tone steady and tender, like the heartbeat of heaven itself. Not all will understand. Not all will believe. But write it, Moses. For in every generation the Lord will keep a remnant, humble souls who still listen amid the noise of the world. They will read, they will understand, and they will pass it on. The angel raised his hand, and before Moses appeared a great book of light hovering in the air, radiant as crystal. Across its pages flowed living letters of fire, moving gently as if breathing like rivers, streaming upward into the sky. This, said the angel, is the book of time, where all things past, present, and yet to come are written. But not everything may be revealed. Some mysteries are kept for the appointed hour when mankind is ready to see them. He stretched out his hand again, and the symbols flared brighter, then slowly began to close. A single flash of pure light filled the air, followed by a deep, resonant sound, like the locking of a celestial door. The book vanished, leaving behind a shimmering echo that lingered in the stillness. Moses whispered, "Why must it be sealed? Should not truth be given freely to all?" The angel's eyes softened, though his voice carried the weight of eternity. Truth is not for the curious, but for the humble. If man were to know all things, while pride still rules his heart, he would use wisdom to destroy rather than to save. So the Lord conceals part of time, not to deny, but to protect. He turned toward the horizon. The first light of dawn rose, painting the clouds with gold. When the final hour arrives, said the angel, the book will be opened once more. And in that day, every soul will see that nothing ever escaped the will of the Lord, not life, not death, not sorrow nor joy, for all things are held within his hands. Moses said nothing. He understood now that some truths are not meant to be known, but to be awaited. Bowing low, he murmured, "I will write, and I will wait." The angel smiled, a rare, luminous smile, seen by mortal eyes only once in all of history. "You have completed your task, Moses. From this day forth, you are not only the shepherd of Israel, but the keeper of time, the guardian of heaven's memory for mankind." Then the angel spread his arms, and the final burst of light engulfed the mountain. For a moment, Moses saw the heavens open, a host of angels spiraling in radiant harmony, singing a song without words, a melody made of breath and eternity. When the light receded, Moses stood alone on the sacred peak, scroll in hand. The wind brushed against his hair as the sun rose from the east, brilliant, warm, full of promise. He knew then that time had been sealed, yet the story was not finished. For in every generation thereafter, in every heart still open to heaven, another page of the book would unfold not by ink, but by faith, by kindness, and by the yearning to return to the Lord. The final secret on Mount Sinai, what Moses revealed to humanity. The wind atop Mount Sinai began to fade. The angel spoke no more. The light from heaven closed, and time itself was sealed. Moses knelt alone, surrounded by mist and cloud, holding in his hands the scrolls engraved with the light of the Lord. He knew no one on earth would ever believe what had just taken place. He had seen the book of time, heard the prophecy of the Redeemer, and witnessed the very moment heaven sealed history and placed it into the hands of mankind. When dawn rose, Moses stood. He was no longer the same. The radiance upon his face made even nature bow. With every step he took down the mountain, the wind whispered through the rocks like a prayer. At the foot of Sinai, the people of Israel looked up and saw a figure descending through the mist. Some trembled, others wept, for Moses' face shone as though wrapped in fire. Yet the fire did not burn. It was the mark of heaven lingering upon the world of men. In his hands, he carried the tablets of the law, the symbol of the covenant. But within his heart were words that could not yet be spoken. Truths meant only for the time appointed by the Lord. People gathered around him and asked, "What did you see on the mountain?" Moses only smiled and said, "I heard the voice of the Lord, and he said, 'Mankind is not yet ready to know everything. But when their hearts learn to love, they will understand all things.'" Then he placed the tablets before the people and declared, "This is the covenant between the Lord and mankind. Keep your hearts upright, for one day he will send the one who will complete this covenant, the one who will not write the law upon stone, but upon the hearts of all who believe." The people bowed while Moses looked up toward the mountain one last time. The clouds had lifted, yet he knew heaven was still there, silent, but watching over every soul. And so he walked on, carrying that light down into the world of men, beginning the long journey of faith, of promise, and of waiting that would last for thousands of years. From that day on, he was called the man who spoke with God. And Mount Sinai, the place where the light of heaven once descended, still stands silent in the desert, a reminder for all generations that the secret of heaven has been given to mankind. And now mankind must learn to keep it. When Moses left Mount Sinai, the light from the mountain still shone faintly over the land. The people of Israel stood in silence, watching him go. They knew they had just witnessed something that would never happen again, a moment when heaven truly spoke to mankind. But as the years passed, the wind of the desert swept away his footprints, and the mountain once again disappeared behind the mist. And slowly, people began to forget. They still spoke about God, but no longer listened to him. They built temples, recited prayers, but their hearts were full of fear and desire. And just as it had happened before when humanity forgot where it came from, darkness returned. From above, heaven still watched. The angels saw war's lies and hearts growing cold. But even in the darkest nights, there were still a few humble, quiet souls who believed, who prayed, and who tried to live with kindness when the world had forgotten how. And because of them, the light never truly went out. Even when the world turned away, God remained silent, patient, watching. He no longer sent thunder or storms to punish. He simply waited, allowing humanity time to realize how far they had wandered from him. And in that silence, those who truly listen can still hear, "My children, I am still here. I have never left you. It is you who have forgotten the way back home." Those who keep love alive in their hearts will understand that heaven's light has never been lost. It is only covered by the dust of pride, hatred, and fear. And with just one honest prayer, that dust will lift, and humanity will see that the light has been within them all along. The angel once told Moses, "One day when mankind grows weary of its own darkness, they will look up and remember that heaven is still there. Then the ancient covenant will open again, not through miracles, but through awakening hearts." That night, as the people of Israel slept beneath the stars, a soft wind moved through their tents. Moses walked farther into the desert, but the light around him did not fade. And above, heaven watched quietly, like a father waiting for his children to finally come home. If humanity still knows how to pray, then God is still listening. If people still know how to love, then the covenant has not been lost. The world may change, but God never changes. He is still here waiting for the day when humanity remembers that it has always been loved. Time passed. The light from Mount Sinai slowly faded from human memory. People still read the scriptures, still spoke the name of Moses, but few ever knew that on that mountain he received more than just the 10 Commandments. There was another part of the revelation, a scroll given to him in secret by the angel. A record of truths too deep, too real, and too dangerous for mankind to understand too soon. That book was called the Book of Jubilees, the book of the cycles of time. It told the story of humanity from the very beginning, from the creation itself, through the age of angels, and even the prophecies of what was still to come. It spoke of the watchers who fell of the bond between heaven and mankind, and of the hidden laws that govern time, destiny, and the rise and fall of nations. But because of that, it was banned. For Moses had written down things that the world was not ready to face. Truths that could make people question the very foundation of religion, the role of angels, and the things later generations chose to bury in silence. For centuries, the book vanished from the official scriptures. It was erased from Rome, from Greece, even from Israel itself. Only a few ancient copies survived, kept deep within Ethiopian monasteries, where believers whispered that a fragment of heaven's truth was still being protected from the hands of power. Why were they so afraid of it? What was hidden in those erased lines? Something mankind was never meant to know. As you listen to what follows, remember this: you are hearing not just history, but the part of the Bible the world tried to forget. Why was the Book of Jubilees banned? For thousands of years, humanity has known the Bible only through the books that were carefully chosen and approved. But few people realize that in the earliest days, there were many other sacred writings, texts written alongside Genesis and Exodus, that told the same story from a higher, more mysterious view. Among them, one stood apart: the Book of Jubilees, also known as the Book of the Cycles of Time. It was once read in ancient temples, honored alongside the Torah. But over the centuries, it vanished. It disappeared from Roman records, from Greek libraries, even from Jewish scripture. Some scholars later claimed it never existed at all. So why would a book said to be given to Moses by an angel of God be removed from the Bible? The answer lies within its pages, in truths too powerful, too revealing, and too uncontrollable for the world to handle. The first reason the Book of Jubilees reveals what human authority could never control. Unlike Genesis, this book doesn't just describe the creation of the world. It explains how heaven governs time, how angels are appointed over nations, seasons, and ages, and how some of them rebelled against the Lord himself. It tells of the watchers, the angels who fell from grace, took wives among humankind, and gave birth to the giants known as the Nephilim. These stories were considered dangerous because they forced people to question the nature of sin, redemption, and humanity's true relationship with the divine. The second reason, it speaks of God's time, a realm no human can alter. The Book of Jubilees divides all history into sacred cycles of 49 years, called Jubilees, the perfect rhythm of heaven's plan. Every major event, the creation of Adam, the great flood, even the coming of the Redeemer, unfolds within these divine intervals, not by human choice, but by God's design. This idea challenged the authority of the early religious powers. Because if everything happens according to God's own timeline, then no man, not even the church, can claim to control his will. The third reason. It exposes how humanity lost its way in worship. The book of Jubilees explains that after the great flood, as nations spread across the earth, each people was entrusted to the care of a guardian angel. But as time passed, humanity forgot the Creator and began to worship the very angels sent to guide them. That message struck directly at the heart of ancient power, for many empires and religions of the time exalted their rulers and celestial beings as gods. Had this book remained in public hands, it could have shattered the foundations of man-made divinity. The fourth reason. It foretells the coming of the Redeemer long before the New Testament. In the book of Jubilees, the angel says to Moses, "One day there will come a man born from the line of Abraham. He will not carry a sword, but truth. He will not destroy the law, but fulfill it." These words mirror almost perfectly the life and mission of Jesus Christ, written centuries before his birth. And that terrified early scholars, for if the book of Jubilees were accepted as scripture, it would prove that the prophecy of the Messiah had been known long before the church claimed it. The fifth reason. It declares that truth cannot be controlled. The book of Jubilees ends with the angel's final words to Moses. There are things mankind is not yet ready to know. But when the time comes, all the secrets of heaven will be revealed. That message alone was enough to unsettle every empire built on power. Because it says that truth does not belong to any institution, nation, or crown. It belongs to those whose hearts remain pure, who still listen for the voice of God within themselves. And perhaps that is why, through the passing of millennia, the book of Jubilees was hidden. Not because it was false, but because it spoke too much truth. The book of Jubilees versus Genesis. Two perspectives on the same beginning. Many have misunderstood the book of Jubilees, believing it to contradict the Bible. But when read closely, it becomes clear Jubilees is not a heretical book. It is an expansion of Genesis, retold through the revelation given to Moses by an angel on Mount Sinai. If Genesis tells the story of creation as seen by humankind, Jubilees tells it from heaven's point of view, where every event unfolds within sacred cycles of time, called Jubilees, each lasting 49 years, representing one complete rhythm of divine order established by God himself. First, a difference in perspective. One written as history, the other as revelation. Genesis records creation as remembered and retold by humankind. It is the human testimony of how God formed the heavens, the earth, the waters, and all living things within 7 days. But the book of Jubilees is the story told directly to Moses by an angel, day by day, cycle by cycle, like a heavenly chronicle. It doesn't only describe what happened, it explains why each act of creation occurred when it did, and how the angels themselves took part in maintaining the world's order. Second, Genesis speaks of the act of creation, while Jubilees reveals its design. In Genesis, we see God as the creator and giver of life. In Jubilees, we understand that creation was never random. It followed a perfect divine schedule measured not by human calendars, but by heaven's own clock. Every motion in the universe, from the stars above to the heartbeat of mankind, moves in harmony with this sacred rhythm of time. Third, Genesis tells of sin. Jubilees reveals the reason behind it. Genesis shows how Adam and Eve disobeyed and brought sin into the world. But in Jubilees, the angel explains to Moses that every fall comes from a choice, a test of loyalty and love within the freedom God gave mankind. The book doesn't merely recount the fall, it teaches the meaning of forgiveness and the mercy that flows from God even when man fails. Fourth, Genesis focuses on humanity, while Jubilees gives voice to the angels. In the Bible, angels appear briefly as messengers. In Jubilees, they are revealed as keepers of time, guardians of order, and witnesses of every generation. They are the scribes of heaven, recording every age, from creation to the great flood, to the birth of nations, so that on the final day, the book of time will be opened and all deeds remembered. 5th Genesis teaches faith. Jubilees teaches understanding. Genesis calls humanity to believe, to trust in God's word and his goodness. Jubilees invites humanity to understand, to see that faith is not blind, but grounded in the realization that every hardship, every trial, and every moment exists within a greater divine plan. In truth, the two books do not conflict at all. Genesis is God's word given to mankind. Jubilees is the angel's explanation given to Moses so that mankind may comprehend that word more deeply. One is the path, the other the map. One is the word, the other the time in which the word unfolds. Both lead to the same truth, that God is the creator of all things, and that time itself is the eternal witness of his love for mankind. Through countless centuries, humanity has searched for answers beyond its understanding. They have read the scriptures, studied the ancient texts, and in their search for truth, they have often forgotten the simplest truth of all, that God has never left this world. Every cycle, every age, every turning of history has always been part of his plan. When the light shines, it is his call for mankind to return. When darkness falls, it is his way of letting us find our way back. The Book of Jubilees is not just an ancient manuscript. It is a reminder that everything in the universe has its appointed time and nothing happens outside the will of God. The world today may look different from the time of Moses, but the human heart remains the same, still capable of pain, of fear, of doubt, and still longing to hear the voice of the Lord within. So tonight as you listen, let your soul become still like the desert after the wind. And quietly, let us pray together. Lord God, teach me to listen in the silence, to see that everything that happens is within your plan. Grant me faith to walk through trials and kindness, to keep the light alive within my heart. Remember this, God is not only above the heavens, he is in every breath, every moment, every rhythm of time. When you open your heart to him, fear dissolves like morning mist before the first light of creation. And when you finally close your eyes to rest, may your soul find peace in the hands of the Creator, where every question finds its answer and everything unknown becomes clear in his time. For he is the beginning and the end, the time, the light, and the love that never fades. As the story fades and the night grows quiet, let your mind rest in the space between thought and silence, where the voice of heaven still whispers softly through time. You have just journeyed through a forgotten chapter of creation, through the moments when light was spoken into being, when angels walked among men, and when Moses stood on the mountain where heaven itself opened. You have heard of the book the world tried to erase, the Book of Jubilees. A text once sealed by sacred hands, hidden, because it dared to reveal the order behind the mystery, the truth behind the beginning. And yet, perhaps it was never meant to be lost. Perhaps it was meant to return now in a time when the world has grown too loud to hear, too proud to believe, too restless to be still. Because if you listen closely beneath the noise of the world, you can still hear that same truth, that creation was not chaos, but harmony. That time was not an accident, but a heartbeat, the heartbeat of a God who wrote eternity into every living soul. The Book of Jubilees reminds us that we are not wandering aimlessly through a broken universe. We are walking within the pattern of something greater, a divine rhythm that began before the stars and will continue long after they fade. Every moment you live, every breath you take, every act of kindness you give is part of that great design recorded in what the angels called the Book of Time. Maybe that's why this story was hidden, not because it was false, but because it was too close to the truth. A truth that reminds us we are not forgotten. We are watched, guided and remembered each of us a word written by the same hand that shaped the universe. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine the mountain of Sinai beneath a sky full of stars. Imagine the wind moving softly through the darkness, carrying the echoes of a voice older than time. Be still and know that I am God. The world will forget, but I will remember. For every soul is part of my design, and every story finds its way back to me. Let that truth settle in your heart like gentle rain. You are not lost. You are part of the plan that began before the first sunrise. And no matter how far the world drifts, the light that was placed within you will always lead you home. Rest now beneath the same heavens that watched over Moses. Let the weight of time lift from your shoulders. Let your thoughts fade into peace. For in this silence, heaven is closer than you think. And as you fall asleep tonight, may the same hand that wrote the stars write peace across your soul. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that Word, still alive, still speaking, now watches over you. Sleep in peace, child of the eternal light. Heavenly Father, as the world grows quiet and the stars awaken above, I place my heart into your hands. Thank you for the day you have given, for its lessons, its burdens, and its small moments of grace. If I have spoken in anger, forgive me. If I have doubted, strengthen me. If I have forgotten, you remind me that you have never forgotten me. Let your peace guard my thoughts as I rest. Let your mercy wash away the noise of this world, and let your spirit renew my soul before dawn returns. Teach me to trust your timing, to see that every breath I take is part of your plan, and every moment of silence is an invitation to hear your voice. Tonight, I surrender my fears, my worries, my regrets. May your angels stand watch beside my bed. May your light guide my dreams. And when morning comes, let me rise again with a heart ready to love, to forgive, and to walk in your truth. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Heavenly Father, as the world grows quiet and the stars awaken above, I place my heart into your hands. Thank you for the day you have given, for its lessons, its burdens, and its small moments of grace. If I have spoken in anger, forgive me. If I have doubted, strengthen me. If I have forgotten, you remind me that you have never forgotten me. Let your peace guard my thoughts as I rest. Let your mercy wash away the noise of this world, and let your spirit renew my soul before dawn returns. Teach me to trust your timing, to see that every breath I take is part of your plan, and every moment of silence is an invitation to hear your voice. Tonight I surrender my fears, my worries, my regrets. May your angels stand watch beside my bed. May your light guide my dreams. And when morning comes, let me rise again with a heart ready to love, to forgive, and to walk in your truth. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Heavenly Father, as the world grows quiet and the stars awaken above, I place my heart into your hands. Thank you for the day you have given, for its lessons, its burdens, and its small moments of grace. If I have spoken in anger, forgive me. If I have doubted, strengthen me. If I have forgotten, you remind me that you have never forgotten me. Let your peace guard my thoughts as I rest. Let your mercy wash away the noise of this world, and let your spirit renew my soul before dawn returns. Teach me to trust your timing, to see that every breath I take is part of your plan, and every moment of silence is an invitation to hear your voice. Tonight, I surrender my fears, my worries, my regrets. May your angels stand watch beside my bed. May your light guide my dreams. And when morning comes, let me rise again with a heart ready to love, to forgive, and to walk in your truth. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Heavenly Father, as the first light of morning breaks through the silence, I open my eyes to the gift of a new day that you have made. The night has passed, and I rise by your mercy, safe breathing, and held by the grace that never sleeps. Lord, before the noise of the world begins, before my mind rushes to its duties and distractions, I pause here in stillness to give this day back to you. For it is not mine to control, it belongs to you, the giver of breath, the keeper of time, the one who knows every step I will take today. Thank you for watching over me while I slept, for protecting what I could not protect myself, for whispering peace into my restless thoughts. Now as I rise, fill me with the same peace, the quiet confidence that no matter what awaits me, your presence will go before me. Cleanse my heart, O Lord. Wash away the weight of yesterday, the doubts, the impatience, the careless words I may have spoken. Let my heart be new this morning, as new as the sunlight touching the earth for the first time. Guide my hands to do what is right. Guide my words to speak kindness and truth. Guide my eyes to see the people around me not as burdens, but as souls you love deeply. And when challenges come, teach me to respond not with fear, but with faith that you are already in the midst of every storm. Let this day be an offering, Lord, not of perfection, but of surrender. Whatever happens today, let it draw me closer to you. Whatever I achieve, let it glorify you. Whatever I lose, let it teach me trust. And when I walk through the ordinary hours in work, in rest, in conversation, in silence, remind me that you are near, as close as the air I breathe, as steady as the heartbeat you gave me. Bless the people I will meet, the words I will hear, and even the moments of waiting I may not understand, because every moment is sacred when it begins with you. Father, let your Spirit dwell in me today. Make my heart gentle, my thoughts pure, my actions a reflection of your love. And when night returns, may I look back and see not the weight of my mistakes, but the trace of your mercy in every hour. Thank you for this morning, Lord, for life, for light, and for another chance to walk with you. May every breath I take be a prayer, and every step a reminder that I am yours now and forever. In Jesus' holy name, I pray, amen. Heavenly Father, as the first light of morning breaks through the silence, I open my eyes to the gift of a new day that you have made. The night has passed, and I rise by your mercy, safe breathing, and held by the grace that never sleeps. Lord, before the noise of the world begins, before my mind rushes to its duties and distractions, I pause here in stillness to give this day back to you. For it is not mine to control, it belongs to you, the giver of breath, the keeper of time, the one who knows every step I will take today. Thank you for watching over me while I slept, for protecting what I could not protect myself, for whispering peace into my restless thoughts. Now as I rise, fill me with the same peace, the quiet confidence that no matter what awaits me, your presence will go before me. Cleanse my heart, O Lord. Wash away the weight of yesterday, the doubts, the impatience, the careless words I may have spoken. Let my heart be new this morning, as new as the sunlight touching the earth for the first time. Guide my hands to do what is right. Guide my words to speak kindness and truth. Guide my eyes to see the people around me not as burdens, but as souls you love deeply. And when challenges come, teach me to respond not with fear, but with faith that you are already in the midst of every storm. Let this day be an offering, Lord, not of perfection, but of surrender. Whatever happens today, let it draw me closer to you. Whatever I achieve, let it glorify you. Whatever I lose, let it teach me trust. And when I walk through the ordinary hours in work, in rest, in conversation, in silence, remind me that you are near, as close as the air I breathe, as steady as the heartbeat you gave me. Bless the people I will meet, the words I will hear, and even the moments of waiting I may not understand, because every moment is sacred when it begins with you. Father, let your Spirit dwell in me today. Make my heart gentle, my thoughts pure, my actions a reflection of your love. And when night returns, may I look back and see not the weight of my mistakes, but the trace of your mercy in every hour. Thank you for this morning, Lord, for life, for light, and for another chance to walk with you. May every breath I take be a prayer and every step a reminder that I am yours now and forever. In Jesus' holy name, I pray, amen. Heavenly Father, as the first light of morning breaks through the silence, I open my eyes to the gift of a new day that you have made. The night has passed, and I rise by your mercy, safe breathing, and held by the grace that never sleeps. Lord, before the noise of the world begins, before my mind rushes to its duties and distractions, I pause here in stillness to give this day back to you. For it is not mine to control, it belongs to you, the giver of breath, the keeper of time, the one who knows every step I will take today. Thank you for watching over me while I slept, for protecting what I could not protect myself, for whispering peace into my restless thoughts. Now as I rise, fill me with the same peace, the quiet confidence that no matter what awaits me, your presence will go before me. Cleanse my heart, O Lord. Wash away the weight of yesterday, the doubts, the impatience, the careless words I may have spoken. Let my heart be new this morning, as new as the sunlight touching the earth for the first time. Guide my hands to do what is right. Guide my words to speak kindness and truth. Guide my eyes to see the people around me not as burdens, but as souls you love deeply. And when challenges come, teach me to respond not with fear, but with faith that you are already in the midst of every storm. Let this day be an offering, Lord, not of perfection, but of surrender. Whatever happens today, let it draw me closer to you. Whatever I achieve, let it glorify you. Whatever I lose, let it teach me trust. And when I walk through the ordinary hours in work, in rest, in conversation, in silence, remind me that you are near, as close as the air I breathe, as steady as the heartbeat you gave me. Bless the people I will meet, the words I will hear, and even the moments of waiting I may not understand, because every moment is sacred when it begins with you. Father, let your Spirit dwell in me today. Make my heart gentle, my thoughts pure, my actions a reflection of your love. And when night returns, may I look back and see not the weight of my mistakes, but the trace of your mercy in every hour. Thank you for this morning, Lord, for life, for light, and for another chance to walk with you. May every breath I take be a prayer and every step a reminder that I am yours now and forever. In Jesus' holy name, I pray, amen.